30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Not what you want. Not what you want to find out that your franchise quarterback, who you just gave tons and tons of money to, now has an injury to their plantar fascia. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Talking, of course, about Justin Herbert. He's going to be in a boot, Pearl, for about 2 weeks, and then they're going to reassess from there. Not great news, any way you slice it, for the LA Chargers.
You say an injury to the plantar fascia. Everybody's had plantar fasciitis. That's just you're stiff. You're just a little sore. You just walk on a baseball. There are all sorts of things. This is not a scary injury at all.
Okay.
He's going to be playing week 1. So what are we talking about here?
Well, all right. You're clearly not a Chargers fan, because I would say it's not just the chronic plantar fasciitis. From what we're reading, and we're going to talk to your friend later on in the show, esteemed foot doctor, Rock Positano, your foot doctor's favorite foot doctor, as we like to call him. And it's an injury to the plantar fascia. So something happened. Like there was an event that happened that brought this on. And by the way, playing with plantar fasciitis is no picnic. I mean, I know guys have to play through things throughout the season, and I know Justin Herbert is a tough dude. We saw him fracture his rib cage 2 years ago when he was playing a game in Arrowhead, and he played throughout the season. Last year, multiple broken fingers, one on his throwing hand, finally ended his year. But you don't want, in this type of year, with all the positivity and with Jim Harbaugh, who does some of his best work right when he gets in the building.
Yep.
You don't want another dud season from Justin Herbert.
I will go the exact opposite. Of the 32 teams in the NFL, there is not a single team that is built better to withstand this injury than Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Like, you could not pick a quarterback for a couple reasons. One, the Chargers are still reworking their roster, which has all sorts of cap problems to fit Jim Harbaugh. Two, Jim Harbaugh does not want to throw the ball ever, and he's shown you that all offseason. He was sitting at number 5 in the draft. He already has one of the top 5 left tackles in the entire NFL. And what's he do, Maggie? He drafts a tackle. He doesn't draft Malik Neighbors, who's going to be a superstar, a wide receiver. He wants to run the ball, so who cares? And his schedule is so unbelievably easy this year. They don't need 100% Justin Herbert. They can just hand the ball off per Jim Harbaugh's instructions, like Michigan last year, and just go get to their 8.5 win total, just like they always do.
No.
This is a 9-8 team if I've ever seen one, and nothing changes here.
No, N-O, don't see it that way at all. First of all, anyone why would Jim Harbaugh want to go and be the coach for Justin Herbert, the guy who's got the cannon for an arm? If we lined up every quarterback in the NFL, he would have the best arm.
Maybe Josh Allen, Mahomes.
Okay, Ryan Leaf, your friend, and now my acquaintance, who we love on this show, said he believes Herbert has the best arm. So that's somebody who knows about a big arm.
Okay.
He'd be top 3.
Yeah, okay, I'll go there.
To have a weapon like that and say we're going to hand the ball off like it's J.J. McCarthy in Michigan is ridiculous.
Why? He had a top 10 NFL draftable quarterback and handed the ball off in Michigan. What's going to stop him from doing it here? We're talking about Jim Harbaugh. We're not talking about Joey Coach face. This is the all-time most iconic guy who does things his own way. He doesn't care if Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady is back there. He's going to hand that ball off, Maggie. And I think, honestly, he's like, phew, we can get that quarterback off the field and start running things my way for a month. Then we'll get him back on here.
It's not Michigan, Pearl. This isn't the Big Ten. It's the AFC West. You're going to have to throw the ball to win. And the other part, too, is you have Greg Roman now, your offensive coordinator, not to get too much of the weeds here.
Right.
And what does he want his quarterbacks to do?
He wants them to run.
Thank you.
But Greg, tell me an OC who wants to throw the ball less than Greg Roman in the history of the NFL.
Well, either way, you have a foot injury, And either you want your quarterback to be planting off of that back foot and trying to get all their power from that, which now has an injury, or you want him to use his legs more, which I don't know if we're going to see that, use his legs more. Well, that's not good for a lower body injury either. And here's the other part about this, right? Yeah. And we'll learn more as the weeks go on about just how serious the injury is. There's a Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh aspect to this, and more for Herbert. It's time, dude. We know this guy is good, right? And also, we know he's got massive fans. We're on in Eugene. Good evening. Good morning. We're on in Portland. Good evening. Good morning. We love you guys. We think the world of you. But even the most staunch Oregon Duck fan / Justin Herbert stan would tell you it's time to get going. And not all of this has been his fault, but he is known to be this great quarterback. We universally accept that he's this great quarterback because of the tools. Yet he's been injured. He has one of the all-time playoff collapses on his resume, whether that's his fault or not. It lives with him. And it's time to start living up to what we believe Justin Herbert could be. So, yeah, there's urgency here. And people who think there's not, I think you're living in a fantasy land. You mean
then we're all living in a fantasy land? Because I think you're alone on this mountain calling for I'm not hearing anyone saying it's a do or die. You know who it's time for? Dak Prescott. You know who it's time for? Lamar Jackson. You know who it's not time for? Justin Herbert. He just got his new coach there. They're just they're just harbawing this thing up. Nobody's expecting them to do anything this year. No one's picking the Chargers for the Super Bowl. You're not picking the Chargers for the Super Bowl. And not because it's plantar fasciitis. It's just because the Chargers, they've been 500 or like 10-win team for about 8 years. And you figure you give them a game and a half for Harbaugh over Staley. But I understand he had instant success at San Francisco. He's got to build this team. Give him a week. I mean, what are we doing here?
No. You don't get a week because this is, when you could say harbawing it up, that's not just putting on a pair of pleated khakis.
Yeah,
that means you win right out of the gate. That means you are different. Your culture changes and you're no longer chargering. Now you got Jim Harbaugh in the building. And the vibe changes and everything about the tortured at times history of this franchise and now gets a fresh set because you have a coach and a quarterback. And how rare when Brandon Staley got fired that you would have an opening with this type of quarterback and this type of just absolute Ferrari of a guy.
Right.
To say, oh, well, they've got to warm up for a couple of years. No, you don't warm up for a couple of years. The other part, $55 million per year. There's expectations on every other quarterback who's getting paid that much money. Why Herbert wouldn't have expectations is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the average salary for a quarterback. If you're going to say every quarterback gets $55 million and has to win the Super Bowl, you're going to have a lot of disappointed fans. I honestly think you're not reading the NFL Nation right now. I don't think anybody's like sitting. If the Chargers don't make the Super Bowl, this is a problem. They're probably, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to look it up. They're probably 18th in Super Bowl odds. Like you can't say like they're kind of like, yeah, we're building something here. It'd be nice if Jim Harbaugh won, but I understand if he doesn't. And Justin Herbert's so young. They have a gigantic window that's just starting.
It doesn't matter. You paid him. So
everybody gets paid. Okay. There's 50 quarterbacks who make that much money.
Okay, but Pearl, the actual age of Justin Herbert, yes, young, 26 years old, but you're paying him now at the top of the market. So, yes, it's great. He's young. He could be there forever, but you've already missed out on what the Texans are going to enjoy, what other teams who have success early on with young quarterbacks, what the Cincinnati Bengals enjoyed with Joe Burrow. That's gone. And you have nothing to show for it. And how about, Super Bowl, can we get some winning season out of this guy? I mean,
out of who?
Out of Justin Herbert.
He's had multiple winning seasons.
No, have he?
Yeah, I mean, they got the playoffs, lost to Jags, and the year...
10-7.
Yeah.
9-8.
Yeah,
we're talking barely. 6-9 the first year, 9-8, 10-7, then 5-8 in the games he started.
Yeah, that's where the Chargers are. A lot of it had to do with Brandon Staley. I mean, listen, look at name a team that has less interest in skill position players. This is not going to be a throw the ball, and their schedule's so easy, they can honestly do the all handoff thing and win 9 games this year.
Okay, so here's the thing about the skill position players, and I'm glad you brought this up. We're talking about Justin Herbert. Got going to be in a boot for a couple weeks because he's got an injury to his foot, plantar fascia. This now, when you pay your quarterback $55 million and you give him I believe it's second highest now. We can slice and dice these contracts, but he's getting paid a ton. Top of the market, right there with Joe Burrow and Jordan Love. You sometimes have to take from other positions because you can't afford them all.
Right.
As someone go check on the San Francisco 49ers, they'll tell you all about it. Look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have done. Look at what the Bills have done. They have, in some ways, traded out star receivers for a lot of receivers. Now, obviously, the Chiefs still have Kelsey. It's a little different. But you want to go with a group of guys, and it's sort of like receiver by committee. That's what the Chargers are doing, and I think they're hoping that one of their younger wide receivers really breaks out. But you moved on from Keenan Allen. You moved on from Mike Williams. Like, you don't have to, I wouldn't say like, oh, they've got nobody at receiver. That means they're not going to throw the ball. That means you think the Bills aren't going to throw the ball. That means you think Patrick Mahomes isn't going to throw the ball. That's not the case. Just because you do receiver by committee doesn't mean you don't have a downfield passing attack. It's still the NFL. You still have to score touchdowns in this league.
I disagree. I think that Justin Herbert's pass total is not going to be nearly as high as his peak because I think Harbaugh is going to switch the balance to run more. Based on all the history with Harbaugh in the pros and Harbaugh at Michigan, he wants to run the ball, and I think he told you that in his roster building. I still think he's a year away from having like the contending team that he wants, and I'm kind of going with the crowd here. There's a reason they're middle of the pack in every odds. Like they're the Chargers, they're good. I never had this expectation they have to break out this year. They really don't, Maggie. Like they're going to be fine if they just show they're going to win a bunch of games because they're playing the worst schedule. Right. They actually have technically the second worst schedule, but it's going to be like they have a lot of Carolina and Raiders on their schedule. But I just still think like you could put that kind of pressure. Like he's a first year coach. Why we do because he's Jim Harbaugh? We're judging him differently than all other first year coaches.
Yes, definitely, without a doubt. We saw this guy go to a Super Bowl in the NFL as a head coach. And here's the other part too about this run game that's going to happen for the Chargers. Yeah. With Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. We're doing the Gus bus now. Oh yeah, the Gus bus is going to be.
Yeah, Gus was awesome in Baltimore.
Both of these guys are injury prone all the time. What makes you think that they're going to make it through a season?
They have such a good offensive line, just churning bodies. It does just kind of like his brother in Baltimore. I mean, like you don't need obviously a running back is not the key component of a running game. You can have the flashiest running back of all time. If your offensive line is pushing the defensive line 4 yards downfield. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. I've never heard of them.
Are they on the field, though? That's my question. You have guys who are reliable.
I don't know. So you're saying, I know the Chargers have injury history, but
these two guys have injury history.
Regardless, you can find a running back anywhere. I'm not worried about that at all. Their offensive line is actually kind of awesome, and they're going to push people around. Listen, they're going to win 9 games, Maggie, and like I think everyone's fine. Nobody's saying Super Bowl or bust. In fact, they'll probably raise expectations too high by beating up the Carolinas of the world this year. It's not that situation. Give him time.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine you're rooting for a quarterback that makes $55 million a year?
What are you talking about?
And the expectation is barely over 500. And probably, and what does that equate to? Are you even making the playoffs in the AFC at that point? Maybe you do. And what? Another, you can get spotted to another 21-point lead and blow it?
So you're saying that just because they paid Justin Herbert $55 million this year, like Super Bowl or bust because of that money?
I think it's at least like be a factor, not just be happy to be here. Since when do we pat NFL teams on the head who have Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert together as a formidable duo? Since when do we pat a duo like that on the head and be like, just go out there and do your best? What are we doing? Well, if they're not going to have expectations, who is?
What do you mean by expectations? Yeah, but who cares about what we expect? Like, who expects this team to be elite? Like, I mean, they have the Chiefs in their division. Maybe they will. It's possible. But it's not like this is a team that's like, oh, man, like Dallas. Have you been watching what's been happening in Dallas? They've been 12-5 3 years in a row and lost in the first round play. Like, they need to have postseason success. The Chargers, nothing like that. Nobody, first of all, they have no fans, so that's one thing.
Aww.
But, like, well, that's not an awe. That's obviously, there's no Chargers fans in L.A. There's barely any football fans in L.A.
That's not the fans' fault. That's the organization's fault because they screwed them over.
But, like, there is pressure on certain teams to win right now. Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys been knocking on the door. The Chargers ripped the Band-Aid, and everyone's going to give them time, except you.
No, I'm not. 855-212-4227. No time. Nobody gets time when you get talked about like you are an elite of an elite.
Who's talking about them like that?
Justin Herbert gets talked about like he's a tier 1/tier 2 quarterback.
Oh, definitely. But we were talking about him last year like that, weren't we?
Yeah, I know. And I thought even last year, it's like you understood, I guess, because Staley was such a disaster. Yeah. But now they don't have that. They just got this massive upgrade in coaching. And I'd love to know who's the other tier 1/ / tier 1.5 quarterback who doesn't have expectations to at least be in the MVP conversation or at least go to the conference championship game.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua, and the thing about that is his injury history is way weirder than Justin Herbert.
But here's the thing: every quarterback's making $50 million now, so that's just the average salary for a quarterback. You can't say $50 million means that you have to get the Super Bowl anymore. You just have too many guys.
55, top of the market.
Who cares? Top of the market. Everybody's top of the market now. If that's your reasoning, the next 5 guys are going to be top of the market too. You're going to have too many Super Bowl teams. Maggie, only one team wins the Super Bowl.
Good grief. What did we do about quarterbacks here? What did the league, not us, we didn't do anything. What did the league do in creating this world where getting paid the most doesn't equate to having any pressure to win?
Well, what do you mean by pressure? Explain this. So
urgency, pressure, saying that your legacy is going to be defined by what you do on the field. And if you don't,
I understand. Of course, all that is true. But there are certain teams. Will you at least give me this? There are certain teams that have more pressure to win a Super Bowl for various reasons, like this year.
I think every team that has a quarterback like Justin Herbert should be under pressure to win. 855-212-4227. And Harbaugh. I mean, this is not, we don't have the dregs of coaching here.
He just got there, man. You have to untangle whatever Brandon Staley did to this team the last 3 years.
He took San Francisco, was in bad shape, and got them right away contending. And they had a good run game. They had a great offensive line back then. They had a very good run game because Frank Gore was still in his prime. And he turned Colin Kaepernick into a star. And I'm watching Patrick Willis yesterday. He's getting into the Hall of Fame.
But they only they only passed for 3,200 yards that year. They did not throw the ball. So that's getting back to this point. Justin Herbert, they can afford for Justin Herbert to be at 50%. I think they start with the Raiders in Carolina.
Yeah, Max Crosby coming off the edge. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you can't beat the Raiders and you can't beat Carolina, then just run it down their throats.
855.
It's easy, Maggie. They're going to win those 2 games. They'll be 2-0, and you will forget this conversation ever happened.
Well, then what's going to happen? 855-212-4227. Playoffs need to happen, not starting 2-0. Who cares?
Trust me, they have so many easy wins. There's a lot of Denver and New England, and they're going to bust this thing straight to 9-8 and be on the wild card fringe, and everyone's going to be like, all right, nice job, Jim.
855-212-4227. All right, we got to go with the Justin Herbert setback. The injury to the plantar fascia, going to be out for 2 weeks. And, new team, new install, new offensive coordinator, new receivers, new everything, and going to be missing some time. So do you put urgency on the Harbaugh Justin Herbert pairing, or like Perloff, do you think they just have years and years and years to figure this whole thing out? Coming up, we have a lot more from yesterday. Massive day in sports, including the Olympics, and someone got goated. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Now, we have very different math. Maggie is counting the Chargers as a must-compete right now team. According to your logic, there are, 23 teams that better win the Super Bowl, or we're going to have disappointed fan bases.
Is this a new version of girl math? It's like, if you get paid $55 million as a quarterback, I expect you to be really good in winning playoff games.
Yeah, you have a problem with the market because soon you're going to have half the league making that much. I mean, honestly, if you... Case Keenum was playing last night in the Hall of Fame game. We said he's looked good. Throw that guy $55 million.
That'd be great.
Everybody. Davis Mills, throw him $55 million. Notice the trend here, Maggie? You know who's getting paid at quarterback? Everybody. There's no more debate. Will they pay this guy? Won't they pay this guy? Just pay him. And just because Harbaugh and Justin Herbert have all this money, it's not happening this year. They're fine. Give them 2 years. And maybe it will happen this year, but just give them time.
Yeah, you got a guy who won a national championship, got to a Super Bowl as a head coach. Let's just come in and be like, take your time.
Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. Nobody expects that dude to do anything when he got there.
Talk about a guy on the hot seat. Oh, my God. 855-212-4227. You guys want to talk about Justin Herbert? Let's do it. Wayne, you're up first. You're in Dallas. Good morning, Wayne. How are you?
Hey, how y'all doing today?
We're doing excellent. What do you have on Herbert?
I agree with you 100%, Maggie. When you're making that kind of money, even though, yes, it's the market, but then when you are listed as like a tier 1, tier 2 quarterback, I think high expectations are expected of you, especially with the coach. When you combine it with Harbaugh, I agree with you 100%. I mean, you're barely making the playoffs and not even making the playoffs at times. Like, I think Well, I'm not expecting the Chargers to make the Super Bowl and win it, but at least make the playoffs and be better than barely over 500. Like, this is Justin Herbert. Some people even think he's better than Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. So with great expectations come, you know the saying.
Yep.
So I agree with you 100%.
But wait, they're going to be 10-7. Is that going to be a disappointment?
I mean, with the combination of if let's just say if he had a rookie coach, like just a coach come in, I would say no, it wouldn't. But having Harbaugh with him, I would say that's a disappointment, especially if they don't make the playoffs at 10-7. He should at least make the playoffs. This is Justin Herbert, man.
I'll tell you what. Let's Wayne, brilliant points. Thank you, sir. Have a great day and weekend. 2011, Jim Harbaugh arrives in San Francisco as the 49ers head coach. 13-3. The next year, 11-4, 12-4. Then it went 8-8, and then he had to go. But this is why you get Jim Harbaugh, not for the slow burn and the slow build. It's for the right out of the gate.
And just to be curious, NFL history shows when a guy has great success at his first stay, that always translates exactly the same in the second stay.
He's got a way better quarterback now than he did then.
So when Sean Payton went 13-3 in his first year in New Orleans, or no, 10-6 actually, he made the NFC title game. That was going to happen when he got to Denver.
Well, we expected it to, didn't we?
Wow.
And that was unfair, and he's got God knows who at quarterback.
It never works like that, Maggie. There's no second act that's exactly like the first act.
Generally, the second act's better, actually.
In the NFL, it's exactly. It's always worse.
No, because it's like Bill Belichick got fired in Cleveland and then goes on to win in New England.
No,
and
most
stuff
of
like
it.
that.
But a winning coach is more like Joe Gibbs' second act, and usually it fails.
Let's go to Fernando. He's in Dallas. Fernando.
Hey, what's up, guys? I agree with Wayne and Maggie 100%. Living in Dallas my whole life, all I hear all day long is expectations. It's mind-blowing to me that Herbert, making 50 whatever million a year, Harbaugh, touted as one of the greatest coaches ever, don't have expectations to at least compete in the division. What are we talking about? They need to at least compete in the division.
They have Kansas City, Fernando. They're going to beat the Chiefs. Compete how?
Kansas City is one team in the division. Compete in the division. Compete. You don't have to win it. Compete in the division. There's no way that somebody that makes that much money should not compete in the division. Make a playoff run. Win a game in the playoffs. That's it. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking them to win the Super Bowl. Make the playoffs and win a game in the playoffs. That's the expectations they should have. Personally, I think Harbaugh's not going to be very good in L.A., but that's my personal opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of the league in a year or two.
Whoa, Fernando. All right, well, we'll have to do that on a different day, and we'll do the whole Harbaugh expectations, and thank you for that, and how long is he going to last in L.A.? But, see, that's the other thing. Why do you bring in Jim Harbaugh, right? Because you want to challenge the Chiefs. You've got two teams that could be, one team in the Chiefs that obviously is, just amazing. And then you have the Chargers, yet you're coming to it's not like you're coming to a gunfight with a knife here when you've got Justin Herbert. So you also have a really, you have a top tier quarterback. And then the Broncos and the Raiders right now are going to most likely be more like bottom dwellers. So yeah, you should be competing in the division because you get to beat up on the Raiders and the Broncos in theory, just like the Chiefs do.
Right, but competing for what? What do you mean? Like winning the division?
Yeah, the other part, too, is don't you have to be there for when there's a crack at some point with the Chiefs? I don't know if it's going to happen now, but we talk about how hard it is to three-peat. Nobody ever does it. If I'm the Chargers, I got to be right there to pounce if there is any, backsliding or any, plateauing with the Kansas City
Chiefs. Well, they will be. So if, say, Kansas City backslides, the Chargers are going to be 10-7 like they are every year this year. They'll be right there. Is that not close enough?
I think. Well, be there though. You changed it to 10-7. Before you're saying 9-8.
Well,
now
their
we're
win total is
what
8.
Are we doing here?
Their win total is 8.5. That is to me accurately assessed.
Okay, but now you got the new news about Herbert and the injury to the plantar fascia.
He's playing week 1 against the Raiders. What is the worry here?
That's what they're saying now. Rocks in Atlanta has more of a philosophical approach to this thing. Hey, Rock, how are you? Rock, you there, pal?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Okay. First, I want to be on record to say that, I've been screaming for a decade about, quarterbacks needing to be in their own bracket, so to speak, when it comes to salary because they take an enormous amount of the salary team cap.
Yep.
So, I think that they need to be on some kind of separate pay scale. secondly, I wanted to say that, whether nobody thinks that where these numbers come from, whether it becomes the agent talking to the media has some kind of influence on these numbers because now they're just throwing a number that Dak needs to get $60 million. Whether an agent is, telling that to the media, then the media comes out on ESPN or whatever, these numbers get thrown out there partially by the media.
Huh.
So now these owners are not saying that, there's no one to blame, but this is just what the market is right now. That, they just throw numbers out there. So now the teams feel compelled, well, we got to pay this guy. We got to pay this guy. Because now the market is just set, this is the standard now.
Rock, it's so interesting. Listen, I understand people want to blame the media for, downfall of civilization, the crumbling of our institutions.
It's not blaming, it's just saying that the market
it's part of it.
It dictates.
No, I kid. I appreciate the call, and thank you for giving us that different perspective. I think it's rich owners. I think this is rich owners can't help themselves, part of it. And they, look at what happened, rich and desperate owners. What happened with Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland Browns? That reset every guaranteed amount of money that a quarterback had ever gotten. Now, it hasn't caught on quite to the point we thought it would, but that wasn't the media who was saying, you got to give Deshaun Watson all this guaranteed money. In fact, it was the opposite. That was the owner, Jimmy Haslam, saying, we are so desperate. We will take a guy whose reputation right now is in the garbage, and we will give him more guaranteed money than anyone ever has.
Yeah, I actually think the money is appropriate for quarterbacks. I mean, they're what are they taking, 20 to 30% of the cap? They're that important. By far, every analytic shows the only way to have sustained success in the NFL is to have a great quarterback. So, yeah, 50. Of course, Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert should be making $55 million. Where else would you put the money? That's where the cap should go. It's honestly, they might be underpaid in a sense. They touch the ball every single play. If they're not good, then nobody's good. So their quality of play affects every other person on your roster. So of course you're going to pay them. There's nothing strange about it. And also too, teams can afford it now. You can pay $50 million. The cap went up. Teams are still signing guys around them. It's not I don't think that pays out of control at all. Do you think this is way too high for any of these guys?
I mean, listen, are they underpaid? Anytime there's a salary cap, you could say that it's that's not fair. If you put Patrick Mahomes just on the open market, obviously he'd get way more than what his salary even is now. So I guess in that sense, but no, I think it's crazy. I think these quarterback salaries are nuts. They keep going up and up and up and up and up with because when it's guys Jordan Love might end up being awesome. He started 18 games, $55 million. Tua, major injury concerns. No one thinks he can win a playoff game if it's under 50 degrees. $55 million, $53 million. At some point it is nuts. Daniel Jones can't win jack squat, $40 million.
I was waiting for Daniel Jones to come up. But I think 30 teams would sign up to pay Jordan Love that money. I think 2 teams maybe with Tua, but 30 for Jordan Love. Jordan Love is worth that much money. Think of NBA guys are getting this much. Why is it crazy for a quarterback? A quarterback, the most popular sport in the world, the most important player. It's so different. They're so much more important than the second most important player on the team. It's like a cliff.
Chris Lopresti is in with us this morning. What's up, CeeLo?
Once you pay the quarterback, though, you better hit on some draft picks or some cheap free agents. Because while they're very important, if you've got crap around them, we see what that looks like.
Well, I don't know. Tom Brady, they never
But they never paid Tom Brady at the top of the market. He was
2% off of it. They still paid him a ton of money. Look at his salary year by year.
But the Patriots have always kind of been, or at least while Brady was there with Belichick, sort of the exception to the rule.
Yeah, because Tom Brady made everyone around him amazing. Yeah. No matter if it was a good draft pick or a bad draft pick, he got them in line because he was worth that money. So is Lamar Jackson. So is Josh Allen, by the way. These guys.
Is Justin Herbert, which is why he should have expectations on him. Well, maybe circling all the way back to the beginning of the combo.
He might be a level below these guys, but I'm telling you, that $55 million for some of these quarterbacks is a bargain.
Yeah, I mean, the market is what it is, but it does take up a chunk of your cap, and then, you need other guys to step up and give you an all-around feel. All right, so you guys touched on the injuries for the quarterbacks here. Herbert's got the plantar fascia injury, so he's in the boot for 2 weeks, should be back for week 1, and Geno Smith's been apparently tearing it up in camp prior to these sort of mysterious injuries that knocked him out the last couple of days. Reportedly knee and hip injuries that he's going to get looked at by the doctor. He was seen limping out to watch practice the other day. Maggie, I'm sorry.
Sorry, back to Geno for 1 second.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet. We'll unpack Geno.
Oh, you didn't? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We got so hung up on Herbert. Well, we will get to Geno. We know we're on in Seattle. We want to talk
but
about
this is not. I was told this was a major injury that he's like a maybe for practice like any day now. Like,
yeah, well, he's going to go, I guess, get some imaging done to find out what's going on.
Yeah, because I have hip and knee injuries too. As an older gentleman like me and Geno Smith, that happens. That's called a Thursday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, you're 11 years in the league.
Yeah. No, it's hard to walk around. The hips get so tight.
Yeah.
Anyway, please go ahead.
They wouldn't exactly get into, how, when it happened as far as in practice. So, because you're not supposed to hit the quarterback, obviously.
Nah, it's just old age.
Old age? He's not that old.
Oh,
He also sat for a long time.
Right, yeah,
so
he should be fresh.
I have a hip injury and no one's ever hit my hip.
You never got tangled up with a defensive lineman?
No.
Shocker.
So, Maggie, you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins' name yesterday. We were talking about the Titans. Kind of like, you don't even think much about him right now with that Titans team. Well, he got hurt in practice, a knee injury. He's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So you got some of these bigger name guys that are going to be missing some time, or at least spend some time on the side here as we get ready to really unveil the rest of the preseason schedule. We'll get to last night's Hall of Fame game in just a minute. The Giants wrapped up that last episode of Hard Knocks earlier this week, and much of it focused, of course, on Saquon Barkley, his free agency, the Giants' decision not to re-sign him. So owner John Mara with the media yesterday admitting that he wasn't thrilled watching his most popular player go to a division rival in the Eagles, but also showing support for his GM head coach tandem of Joe Shane and Brian Daboll.
I mean, every year there's going to be a personnel decision that I'm not 100% in favor of, but at the end of the day, you let the general manager and the coach, particularly if they have a unified conviction, make the decisions, and then about it later.
That little cutout there is he dropped the B word in there. So
what?
Really?
You bleep about it later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
From his standpoint,
Yeah.
like I let them make their decision, and then I can complain about it. And if it doesn't work, then who knows what happens to those guys.
Usually with a beep, you can figure out the context of a curse word. I got to be honest, that one was challenging.
I'll say this. So normally I would have run and put the beep in, but I dropped that in sort of right before I came in, and in the system that I have at my desk, I didn't have time, that's why I wanted to fill in the blanks for you there a little bit.
Appreciate that.
You're right, though. With the beep, you usually can figure it out a little bit more than if the audio just cuts out, which is kind of weird.
Also, I didn't expect that guy to curse either. He seems like a non-curser.
He's pretty buttoned up.
Without a doubt. EJ, good morning. You wanted to weigh in on this, too.
Well, what's fascinating is that we have people on this network that love using that term in the way that Mara just did. So I'm always confused. Like, is that even a curse anymore, CeeLo? I appreciate the being safer than sorry, but
I agree. I was wondering if I should just say it myself. That's the way it was rolled into the system, so that's the way I presented it to you.
Well, if Pete Pilati was here, that would be a fireable offense if you let B word get out over the air, no matter what context.
Oh my God.
Pete does not appreciate any kind of even fringe.
Safe.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
It is better to play it safe. I thought I could skirt these rules that Pete has by spelling certain words. This is when we all first got together as a show, and I thought I could spell a certain term for a part of a woman's anatomy, a slang term, and it turns out that doesn't fly.
Well, I guess it would depend on which part of the anatomy you're referring to.
Well, it starts with a T.
Okay.
It turns out you can't spell that word, kids.
Yeah, watch 5 minutes of the Pat McAfee show, and let's all talk. 1 o'clock on ESPN throwing the F word around like it's nothing, which is amazing to me. Like, there actually are no rules at all, 0.0.
I think that was part of his deal, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, but the FCC, like, where's the FCC? It's not really.
Just fine you. I mean, believe me, I know.
They don't find it. They don't find ESPN at all. Bizarre cable. Yeah,
they wouldn't?
They have no jurisdiction of that.
But I thought it was between certain hours of the day. Like, I remember the first time hearing the S word on cable. I think it was an FX show, and just being like, oh, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, DP used to tell me that ESPN was exempt from all that stuff. Like, there was nobody, but I don't know.
Must be nice.
Do you think that he gets a fine every time he says those words?
I thought you could only say certain curse words after 10 p.m. But again, I'd have to go back and look at the fine print.
All right, very well.
I'll trust Dan Patrick.
But I think it's a difference between, I'm not sure the cable has the same rules. I don't know if ESPN is still cable.
So it was like a gentleman's agreement for all those years not to curse?
Well, I don't know. Like when NYPD Blue showed a guy's rear end without, I think there was no real rules about it. It was just sort of like an agreement, but I'm not sure.
Right. Is that Dennis Franza? Dennis Franz?
I think, is that how you say his name?
I don't remember now.
I should know that.
Anywho.
From Hill Street Blues. But that's not the guy who was naked, was it?
Dennis Franz. Very good. I don't know if that's who was naked, but that is the guy who was on the show.
Jimmy Smits, right?
Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits probably makes a little more sense.
Then Rick Schroeder.
Rick Schroeder,
I don't know how new those guys were, but
I've interviewed Jimmy Smits before. Super handsome in person.
Nice guy.
Beyond nice.
So not just on TV, also handsome in person.
Well, I think that matters.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Some people, like, you get to meet them and it's, like, oh, that's what this looks like. He was the real deal.
All right. He held up in person. Very good.
Solid name drop at 6:39 Eastern.
And she nailed the Dennis Franz. Was he as handsome in person? I don't know. Maybe didn't meet him.
Never got the pleasure.
Yeah. All right. No Caleb Williams, no CJ Stroud as expected for last night's Hall of Fame game, which ends up shortened because of the weather there in Canton, Ohio. Heavy rain and lightning. So they called it in the third quarter, 21-17 for the Bears over the Texans. Really, the talking point out of this one, of course, is the new kickoff rules and the returns, which kind of was a little jarring to see it visually, right, for the first time. Didn't really lead to much, kind of your usual, 20-yard return or so. Prior to last night, we just knew about the new rule and the format. We hadn't actually seen it, and that goes for NFL types as well. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin thinking outside the box to prepare his team. A little bit of a longer cut here, but typical Tomlin, no stone left unturned.
There are actually no real visuals of the concept. My sons play all the EA Sports games. Man, I got a lot of respect for the realism of their product. We reached out to those guys and wanted to just kind of get a visual maybe of some of the schematics, how the alignment might affect the timing of blocks and so forth. That game is more than entertainment from my perspective. It is a real simulator.
So they're using Madden to get themselves ready.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably just watch the XFL, or where'd they do this?
I think it was the XFL.
Was it XFL, the latest incarnation? Yeah, EJ's nodding. You could have watched that game tape, but that's gamifying all this stuff is super smart. I mean, your locker room's made up of a lot of young men who
playing it anyway.
Playing it. I mean, this is a smart move. I think JJ Redick talked about some of this stuff, gamifying some of the Lakers playbook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are, like he said, they are very much simulators now. It's like even in Madden, a lot of the playbook stuff is very real and intricate. So maybe not as much as obviously being in an NFL locker room or team meeting, but as far as the on-field stuff, if they've already got the format of the kickoff into the game, you could see where maybe they could use it a little bit for teach tape, as they like to say.
Okay.
Perloff says no.
I mean, first of all, you saw it last night. I don't think anyone has any idea. It just looks like
that's his point. Yeah. I mean, he obviously spoke that before.
I watched like 6 of them. They all went out to like the 27-yard line. I'm like,
same stuff.
What are we doing here?
Right.
What? I enjoy it, but someone's got to break one for me to keep engaged with this particular play.
So more name dropping for me this morning. I was chit-chatting with Boomer Esiason about this morning. And
is the Boomer the name drop or someone else?
Well, chit-chatting with a former league MVP. Okay. I feel like could probably sound a little obnoxious, but he was saying that he thinks this is going to increase scoring by a ton just because you're going to have like maybe 7 more plays just in general that happen on the field, and also the starting position. If you're starting now, basically it seems like everyone's starting at the 30. I mean, you're going to get more scoring just by virtue of starting your field position in a better spot.
If eventually we get there, because last night the opening kickoff was brought back 21 yards to the 26, and then there was another 21-yard return.
Well, one guy, he got tripped up, right? He just fell.
Yeah.
That happens.
Right. It's a small sample size, obviously.
Yeah, so I felt like, did anyone get it past the 30 last night? I don't think they did.
I don't think so.
It's just hard. Like, it's not as wide open as the kickoff. And also, too, like, it's definitely not. It's safer than that play? A touchback. Don't claim safety on this. Like, I don't want to hear the NFL say the word safety around this particular play.
But a touchback now comes out to the 30, right?
And I think
but I'm saying, in general, in life, a touchback, the old system was way safer. Like, somebody's going to get hurt on this. I'm going to laugh because they're saying this is a safety issue.
Well, they're also trying to find the middle ground of, instead of just touchback, you do get some returns, but you don't have guys sprinting all the way down the field and colliding with one another.
Yeah.
So.
No, anytime the league says safety, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
CeeLo, thank you.
Exactly.
They've earned that skepticism. 855-212-4227. We're asking you how much pressure is on Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert this season. You can weigh in. Coming up, we also had an interesting take from somebody who doesn't really go flamethrower on their opinions, but did yesterday. We'll tell you.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We talked about the Justin Herbert injury to his plantar fascia and how much pressure, urgency should there be on Herbert and Harbaugh together in year one. There was another quarterback update yesterday, Perloff. This one a little bit murkier. It's Geno Smith, who has been held out of practice for 2 days now because he got tangled up with one of the defensive players and now has hip and knee issues that they're getting imaging on yesterday. We should have some more data and details today.
Okay, so who knows about these things before anyone? Vegas, obviously. The Seahawks open up week one against the Broncos as 4.5-point favorites. They still have today 4.5-point favorites. So I assume some sharp has a guy in the hospital. He's fine.
Okay. Is that how that works? Mike McDonald, let's hear from him. He's the Seahawks' new head coach. He said Geno will undergo tests to determine the injury status.
Yeah, he's just working through a couple things from the other day, but get some imaging tonight, and we'll see.
Okay, More from McDonald said he doesn't know if Geno will be out for more than just 1 day. Now we know it's been 2 days.
Expect him back tomorrow?
I don't know about tomorrow, but we'll see what comes out of when he goes and sees the doc.
Okay, so now we get a little of the Mike McDonald his lying tone. No, I'm just kidding. This is the bummer part about this, Perloff. I was actually just reading about Geno Smith before this injury popped up, and here's what they were writing. Smith has been very impressive in camp. He's consistently challenging the defense, forcing it to be right on each snap. From Devin Witherspoon, the way he's been playing lately is just out of his mind. All the throws, all the keys, checks he's making. He's very on point right now. We're kind of making it hard for him on the defense, but he's really making it hard for us as well. This was from the reporter from The Athletic. Smith's accuracy at all three levels has been noticeable and much better than the other two quarterbacks. The deep completion to DK Metcalf was placed in a perfect spot. I mean, he was looking the best of anybody at camp, and now this setback.
Well, yeah, but is that a surprise? I mean, he's been in a Pro Bowl level for 2 years, right?
He has.
I know everybody. There's like a Sam Howell cold out there, but I never really thought he was going to challenge Geno. The question is, what's Geno's long term? Is this the last year there, regardless of how good he looks? If he has the same year as 2 years ago, I'm looking at 30 touchdowns, 11 picks. Really good. He's really good, but he's 32. At a certain point, I think the Seahawks contractually are saying, yeah, this is good, but I don't know if Geno is a long term answer there anyway. That being said, this again, when I heard knee and hip injury, I thought it was panic time in Seattle. And now we're talking about questions. Will he be at practice tomorrow? So I'm not super scared about this. I mean, again, the hip gets really creaky, especially if it's humid out. And you know the rain in Seattle. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Just because, Geno doesn't have the miles on him that a guy of his age would because he was a backup of Russell Wilson for so many years. But he is older quarterback. You know, when you hear about knee and hip, it's like, well, that's not just one thing. That's two things. They're obviously connected.
Is that better than knee? So
it's knee and hip.
Right. When I hear knee and hip, that means he didn't snap the ACL. So there's anything else he can come back from. You know, if it's meniscus, he'll be back in 3 weeks probably.
But then you worry about the rest of the season. Like it's one thing to be ready and back for week one. How do you manage throughout the entire year? It's such a marathon of a season.
I don't know. Again, if the odds had changed even a half a point, I'd be worried. But if you're really worried, I would short the Seahawks because they kind of need Geno. Everybody's dying. I watched that receiver documentary on Netflix.
Yeah,
all of them were hurt every week. I just think that this doesn't feel like a panic mode. When I heard knee and hip, I'm like, oh my God, it's like a Bo Jackson situation. You hear a hip and you freak out.
Yep.
But they're talking about, will he be there Monday for practice?
Yeah, I guess it was weird because he didn't participate in a walkthrough, like a half-speed walkthrough. So maybe that's something that makes you like a little alarmed. If really nothing's wrong, why would you not participate in that? I don't know. You're just being better safe than sorry. I totally get it. Also, apparently Sam Howell has not looked that great, but it's training camp. So You have plenty of time.
This is, by the way, another team who just wants probably, it's funny because they pay a lot to the receivers. They probably want to run the ball like crazy. The new coach feels like he's got Harbaugh DNA.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he worked for the Harbaughs, Mike McDonald. I think that the reason why they brought him in more specifically is their defense was a mess. I mean, they have they actually have good pieces and good players on defense, and they were not any way representative of what they were, which was crazy because Pete Carroll has been a great defensive coach, and they were just bad last year.
Well, I mean, what's the best way to help any defense is the run game, and they got running backs, man. Give Ken Walker and my guy Zach Charbonnet the ball. I think they should run the ball 30 times a game.
Coming up, lots more to do, including star quarterback now going to be in a boot for 2 weeks. Maybe more. Maggie and Perloff on Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
You're listening to the Maggie and Perloff show. Sit back, relax, we've got a break to go. In just 5 minutes, we'll be back on air. So take a breath, we'll soon be there. 5 minutes, count it down. Maggie and Perloff, the best show in town. You're listening to the Maggie and Perloff show. 4 minutes till we're back, let's go. Whoa! To the Maggie and Perloff show. 4 minutes till we're back, let's go. You're listening to the Maggie and Perloff show. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's wait. 5 minutes now, it's gonna be great. Time's ticking down, it's almost here. Maggie and Perloff, we're so near. You're listening to the Maggie and Perloff show. You're in a 5-minute break, so don't go far. Maggie and Perloff, we know who you are. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, count it down. The Maggie and Perloff show will be back around.
1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Special time of year. This is when the expectations for NFL team get ratcheted up to an all-time high. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Specifically, if you are what we think of as a tier 1 great quarterback and also an established, proven coach. And that's what you have in LA with the Chargers. Yet Justin Herbert, now we got news yesterday, he had an injury to his plantar fascia, so to his right foot, plant foot, and he's going to be in a walking boot for 2 weeks. So we're not sure how this is going to impact the season, if it will, Perloff, but the idea that Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh in year 1 can have this just sort of feeling out year with no expectations, that doesn't square to me. I think you have this kind of star power and firepower between head coach and quarterback. I'm expecting something good right away.
Define something good.
Playoffs. Playoffs, definitely. Playoffs and win a playoff game. Be a factor. Strike fear into the heart of people.
Okay. Well, I mean, they could easily do that.
Challenge the Chiefs for the division.
Well, okay, now we're talking now. Okay, I was waiting for you to say something that didn't make sense. All right, let me ask you this. Well, do you think everybody in the industry, including you and me, are going to make Super Bowl picks? Do you think anybody's picking the Chargers to win it all?
Maybe not after the Justin Herbert news with the fashion.
Get out of here.
I'm serious.
You think before you think 2 days ago, people were picking them?
I do. I mean, I thought they could go as far as the AFC Championship game. I've been on record saying that on this show. So, I mean, I just stopped right short of the Super Bowl. But now that Herbert may be dealing with this injury, and we're going to talk to world-renowned foot doctor Rock Positano coming up later in this hour to get the real skinny on what's going on here. But yeah, I don't see how they skate on expectations, right? Like if Jim Harbaugh had gone to Buffalo, Baltimore, if he had gone to Kansas City, if he had gone anywhere else with Green Bay, if you added Jim Harbaugh with any top tier quarterback, why wouldn't the expectation be high, almost as high as possible? Why? Just because it's the Chargers? Come on.
Well, I think he's untangling a lot of mess there. Like they didn't have a great GM and they didn't have a great coach. But wait. I just need to say this. So you're saying you were going to pick him Super Bowl until you found out that Justin Herbert was 2 weeks away out of practice with plantar fasciitis? Nobody's picking the Chargers. They're like 15th or 16th in odds. That'd be a crazy pick. You get one pick. You're picking them over the Chiefs? Well, not you, but just generally. Nobody's picking the Chargers to win the Super Bowl this year. It's just not a thing.
Okay, newsflash. Unless you just want to go pick the favorites, like if you go outside of the box at all, no one picked the Cincinnati Bengals to go to the Super Bowl the year they went to the Super Bowl. If you have a great quarterback, you have a chance. But the problem is with Herbert is that if he's not going to be 100%, and I've seen him play through injuries, and he's been gritty and he gutted it out. He gutted it out through a fractured rib cartilage, which I didn't even know that was a injury. Like I've never heard of it that way before. It was like basically broken ribs that he sustained during week 2 years ago, and he played through it like a champ. I get that. Broken fingers, last year on non-throwing hand and then on the throwing hand, and that ended the season. The dude he's tough. But if you can't, there's something about this foot injury that if it does linger throughout the season, I do worry if he's going to be limited to the fact that I just don't know. But if we're just talking about overall 30,000 foot in the air, should Jim Harbaugh and should Justin Herbert have expectations right out of the gate? Yes, because this is why you get Jim Harbaugh. You don't get him for the slow build and for the rebuild and, we're going to peak in 5 years. You get him for now. That's his reputation. That's what he's done. That's why he was the prize this time of the coaching hiring cycle.
Then how come nobody is thinking Super Bowl for the Chargers except for you?
Well, because nobody's reading the room. No.
I mean, why are they 15th in Super Bowl odds with all this going on? They have a $55 million quarterback and a prime coach. In fact, and the odds haven't changed because of the plantar fasciitis. So, like, why don't they have them over teams like the Dolphins? Or, I mean, like, why do you think that is?
I don't know, and it bothers me.
I mean, because everyone's watched the Chargers. Like, they built this weird team under Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco. I think it's a situation where you have to give Jim Harbaugh time to what I would call untangling a mess there and building a culture. Give them at least 2 years before you put that to. In fact, their schedule is such a joke this year. They could easily skate in the playoffs again. But I think to put Super Bowl expectations, just say it. Say Super Bowl expectations. Don't say expectations. Because otherwise, what are you talking about? I think that's totally unfair to do to Jim Harbaugh, to say you better at least compete for a Super Bowl. Dude. You're in the same division with the Chiefs. Okay, you're in the same conference with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals and the Houston Texans. And your Buffalo Bills.
Then don't even play.
Well,
then forfeit every single game of the season. If because you're in the Chiefs, in the same division of the Chiefs, then take your ball and go home.
Okay.
That's that. You want them to be losers. You want them to have loser mentality and loser energy, and that's unfortunately something that Charger fans know too well. Waiting for the other shoe to drop, always having something go wrong, charging your way from wins into losses. Then don't even play if you don't think you can beat the Chiefs.
That's ridiculous.
You're giving them a loser mentality.
Okay, so all 32 fan bases, they have to think, well, if I don't get to the Super Bowl and win it this year, then I'm a loser.
With a tier 1 quarterback, Pearl. You're not understanding. And with a tier 1 coach.
So you think Miami pays their quarterback a ton? If you're sitting in South Florida right now, are you going to be disappointed if the Dolphins don't win the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think you are expecting something from Tua, aren't you? And
you're not expecting a Super Bowl, and if you are, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Well, here's the difference. There was at least, people were kind of split on whether or not Tua should have gotten that contract. That was not a universal, wow, this is a 2 thumbs up, great holiday fun, we should give Tua $53 million. There was not a peep about giving Justin Herbert that money. That was the true no-brainer. So it is very different. And Mike McDaniel has never been to a Super Bowl as a head coach. Jim Harbaugh has. So, yeah, of course the expectation is different for the Chargers than it would be for Miami. Even if the guys are both making 50+, we know there's levels to this thing and there's tiers. Yeah. And we give Justin Herbert all the credit in the world, all the accolades, commercials. He's got it all, yet no expectations to win playoff games.
But, okay, if they go 10-7 and lose a wild card game, is
disappointment?
Is anyone going to really say, oh, Jim Harbaugh did it? So you'll give him a C- if they go 10-7?
Yes.
Really? Gosh,
to lose
that's
a
a
wild card game?
That's a game and a half over their Vegas expectation. Like, that's tough. That's a tough bar for them to hit.
I also think, and, we're talking about Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and the expectations for this year. I mean, Brandon Staley really was, way over his head, right? So you're not just upgrading marginally with this head coaching situation. You are upgrading probably as big as you can upgrade in one hire. Right. If you're just talking about, I guess, based on resume alone, Belichick would have been the bigger upgrade. But, I mean, this is almost as big as you can go, I think, between Brandon Staley. There's a chasm between Staley and Harbaugh's coaching.
I think if Harbaugh goes 10-7 and say they get Cincinnati and Joe Burrow in the wild card game and play tough and lose 28-17, I think Chargers fans would be like, okay, we're building something. I don't think they'd be like, oh, my God, what a letdown. 2024 was the year. I don't think that's the energy, and it should be the energy. Give Jim Harbaugh a couple years. By the way, Jim Harbaugh... A couple
years, he might be out of there. He wears out his welcome kind of fast.
He's probably thrilled.
You need to get it right now. You got a window.
And bottom line, too,
before he ticks off everyone.
Probably thrilled about this injury, too. He has no interest in having Justin Herbert drop back and throw the ball down the field. He wants to hand it off. I mean... Did he ever have, he was always top 10 in rushing in San Francisco, and he was always bottom 10 in passing. Like, that's Jim Harbaugh.
I know, but this is my issue with that. I get what you're saying, and I've seen it, and you're not wrong. You're right. But why take this job specifically with this quarterback who can throw it out of the stadium?
Yeah.
Like, if, we heard Shane Steichen say this the other day, the head coach of the Colts, about Anthony Richardson. Not having him run is like having Steph Curry not shoot threes. Not having Justin Herbert really uncork, unleash, and use his arm in a way that is even the elite of the elite. He's like in the upper tier of the upper tier in terms of arm strength. To not build around that, use that, capitalize off that. Jim Harbaugh has forgotten more football than I'll ever know, but that just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, you heard Troy Aikman was calling the game last night.
Yeah.
Nobody had a stronger arm. His arm was a rocket. Never threw the ball.
It was the 90s, dude.
Yeah, but it's the formula. Jim Harbaugh, I heard him talking about this the other day. It's like nothing to him. That's football. Yeah, where do you think Jim Harbaugh comes from? The magical land called the 90s. He wants to road. I mean, honestly, they're sitting there number 5 in the draft. Everybody knows that Malik Neighbors out of LSU is going to be a star. There is no doubt. But you can watch that guy practice for 30 seconds. Like, oh, well, put him in the Pro Bowl. Just buy his plane ticket right now. They take Joe Alt. They already have one of the best left tackles in the game. What does that say? They're telling you, without telling you, their wide receiving core is, you ready? Josh Palmer, rookie Ladd McConkey, who's supposed to be sick, and DJ Chark Jr. Now, DJ Chark's a nominal guy on your roster.
You're forgetting our guy from TCU.
Quentin Johnson is not seeing the field.
Well, we'll see. Year 2.
Oh, watch any training camp highlight, dude. That is not who you want to go to. This is, and he's actually listed as a backup. There's absolutely no way they're throwing the ball here. They're going to hand it off all the time. It's going to be great, by the way, and their schedule's so easy. It's going to get you 10 wins in your sleep.
I'm surprised that you're worried about the receiving core when you're Mr. Wide receivers of the new running back, and you can just cycle them in. It's about having the quarterback who can get these guys the ball, as opposed to, Malik Neighbors. Like, in my opinion, you can never go wrong drafting offensive tackles that you think are going to be with your organization for 10 years. Like that is never a bad pick. And especially now, I'm not saying Neighbors is not going to be good, but with the amount of wide receiver talent in college that comes to the pros, that pick was not a weird pick to me. That was not indicative of anything. I thought this was a smart, prudent pick. I don't think it said, oh, we don't want to use Justin Herbert. It's just a good way to build a team. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're going to have to pay 2 tackles. It'll be a little expensive. But, I hear. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is telling Maggie, you think Justin Herbert's going to have 40 touchdowns and 4,800 yards? That is no way that's going to happen when Jim Harbaugh is coach. They're going to run down all these Panthers, Raiders, Broncos throats, and they're going to be 10-7 and go out on the wild card. I just told you. You don't even have to watch anymore. Thank you. 855, you saved us 5 months of Charger football. 855-212-4227. As we mentioned, our pal, Dr. Rock Positano, will join us in a few minutes. Again, he's your favorite foot doctor's favorite foot doctor. He's the LeBron James of foot doctors. He's going to tell us everything that's going on with Herbert. Meanwhile, our pal Big Dave in Kentucky has gotten up early this morning. Good morning, Warden. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Maggie, you're fired up this morning. I love it.
Talking Charger football gets me revved.
No, to everybody. Plantar fasciitis is one of the most painful, debilitating things ever. I know because I had it a few years back. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, from an athlete's perspective, I'm sure it's different. But let me tell you, I'm talking about you can't walk. I mean, I fought that for like almost a year. Oof. And it's horrible. So I hope Justin Herbert gets straightened up. Listen, the reason I'm calling in, and I'm going to put this dead horse to bed. You guys had the long, drawn-out discussion about the Cowboys being America's team and all the coverage and all that. And, of course, there's no better authority in the world than me, who's been a lifelong Cowboys fan until this past season. Here's the thing. You guys are dead wrong because you're analyzing this and your perspective is wrong. Back in the day, the Cowboys were America's team, because of the players, the persona. America's always been romanticized Cowboys. I mean, they had the beautiful uniforms. You had Bob. You had Bob Lilly. You had Staubach. You had Roger Maris.
Like a war hero. I mean, it just all makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were America's team. If someone asks you right now, Max, who's your team? You're going to say the Bills.
Right.
Perloff. Somebody asks you, who's your team? You're going to say the Eagles, obviously. Because people have to tune in to watch the car wreck does not make them America's team. Saying that they're America's team is saying that the majority of Americans, if you were to ask them, man, who's your football team? They're going to say the Dallas Cowboys. That's not true. Well, Dave, let me ask you, forget America's team. Are they going to be the most watched team in the NFL for the foreseeable future? Absolutely.
Right.
Usually for the wrong reasons now. I mean,
probably right.
No, seriously. I mean,
yeah.
People like me, people like who I'm on here at 7 a.m. in the morning Eastern time, talking about a team that I loathe now, that I followed for so long, because you have to turn on to see what ignorance that their owners want to say, or to see what spineless coach that they're going to have next, or to see what contract dilemma they've got this offseason, or to see how Dak screws up a clutch moment. People tune in, but that does not make them America's team. They haven't been America's team for years and years and years, and that's the final verdict coming from someone that knows.
Well, Dave, can't say it any better. Mic drop and have yourself a phenomenal weekend. Big Dave, the Warden, calling in from Kentucky.
Well, the issue that this started is no one's in the stands at Oxnard.
Yeah, for training camp.
So that's a totally different issue. The question is, are they becoming less popular? Are people getting tired of the train wreck? I think that's the relevant question. I personally don't think so. I think you think that there's a little fatigue setting in.
I do. And I think that the Chiefs are really primed to come in and take the lovers and the haters.
That's a cheat code, though.
Well, I mean, listen, Taylor Swift, Tony Romo dated Jessica Simpson. You don't think that? The Cowboys have a whole Netflix series about the cheerleading squad. Clearly, they are also trying to appeal to the female base when you do a reality show based on will they or won't they make the team.
Well, they already had it's the Cowboys cheerleaders, the most famous cheerleading squad in the history of cheerleading. It's not because of they didn't put that out there to get more women fans. They are going to outrate the Chiefs. I'll tell you that right now. Everybody watches the Cowboys. You have to. That Niners game, you'd be insane if you missed that game. You'd be the only person in America not watching that game, Maggie.
There's also a lot of history between those two teams.
There's
a lot there. I think Dave's right, though. Can you still be America's team when people are tuning in also for the car wreck factor? That helps. It's not just all love. There are a lot of people who are tuning in to watch them lose.
Right, but the point is they're tuning in. And you just said the Chiefs are going to cut into that number. I think the train wreck thing is still way stronger. I mean, Taylor Swift, I think we're getting a little bored of it. I mean,
I don't know, dude. Not some of the female audience.
I even bet you the Chiefs aren't even the number 2 team next year.
Who's 2?
Everybody who plays the Cowboys, the Chiefs were 5 last year because the Eagles, Commanders, and Giants, because of the Cowboy monster numbers, are still high. I'm telling you, Maggie, people watch the Cowboys.
What to expect from Justin Herbert now that he's dealing with an injury to his plantar fascia? We will check in with world-renowned foot doctor Rock Positano next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie, anytime any player hurts anything below, I'd say the calf, what is the first thing we do, and what do we think about?
We got to dial up Dr. Rock Positano,
Yes.
your favorite foot doctor's favorite foot doctor.
All right. With that great introduction, let's welcome in Dr. Rock Positano, director of the Joe DiMaggio Heel Pain Center Hospital for Special Surgery. Rock, Justin Herbert, plantar fasciitis. Break it down for us. I think this is we always hear about plantar fasciitis, but I don't think a lot of people really understand what's happening with the Chargers quarterback.
Well, it's actually a very serious injury, particularly if you need to get out of the way and you need to run, as in the case of, Herbert's style. We've seen this with other quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Boomer Esiason, and of course, the most famous heel injury ever was Joe DiMaggio's, which is why we have a center named after him at Hospital for Special Surgery. It's one of those injuries that's very debilitating, but what makes it even more dangerous, Maggie and Pearl, is that most often these injuries are not diagnosed in a proper fashion, meaning a lot of times people will say it's the plantar fascia, where it could be something more serious, such as a tear, as in this case, or even other types of things. So I think the biggest problem we have is that this injury is often not diagnosed in a timely fashion.
You said Joe DiMaggio had a heel injury, and I know, and we've talked about this. You have a wonderful book, Dinners with DiMaggio. So is that plantar fasciitis, or is that different? Because as a layperson, I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. A lot of people use the term heel spur. So the population, there are so many heel spurs in the general population. I know firsthand DiMaggio's injury was actually a plantar fascia, probably tear. It was definitely his plantar fascia. But of course, back then, they used to have x-rays. That was their primary diagnostic modality. And of course, he had a heel spur. But the problem is that the heel spur is surrounded by the plantar fascia, where it basically inserts into the actual spur itself. So that's why people a lot of times will confuse the two. But the bigger issue is that quite often, whether it's being recreational sports for the everyday person that likes to exercise, or in this case, professional athletes, quite often they say that the issue, if you have heel pain in the morning, it's plantar fasciitis. But the problem is it really pure plantar fasciitis, or is it plantar fasciitis caused by something else? Like in this case, a deep surface tear that goes down to the spot where the fascia goes into the actual spur.
Dr. Rock Positano from the Hospital for Special Surgery is joining us now. Now, right before you came on, Dr. Rock, you had an actual live foot on the screen. Is that like, can we get a demonstration? I know
we have a live prop here. I just happen to have a foot here. All right.
Hold on. If you're watching, there's a couple ways. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, or at Maggie Gray on X. If you're listening on our incredible Infinity Sports Radio affiliates, you will still get the full experience here. We will do theater of the mind. There's a live woman's foot on the screen.
There is a live woman's foot. It's actually Kendall Dupre's. Her first foray into live television. So, Kendall, thank you very much.
Someone wake up Rex Ryan.
Yes, Rex Ryan. Exactly. Well, this is the plantar fascia area right here. Okay, basically in this spot here.
Yep, the heel.
Okay.
Yep.
And basically, this is the spot that we're talking about.
The outside of the heel.
And this is the area where the fascia goes into the bone.
Okay.
And of course, if you're a right-handed quarterback and you have a right plantar fascia injury, as you can imagine, that's your push forward foot. That's what gives you that oomph. Whereas in the case of Herbert, his left foot is the stationary foot. But you can imagine trying to throw off of a painful heel, especially a guy like this who has such power in his arms, but also in his lower extremity. And of course, Pearl and Maggie, just thinking about his ability to run out of the pocket. I mean, that's my biggest concern. What we don't want to have here is another situation where it turns into an Aaron Rodgers, because that's the other issue too. When people have a torn plantar fascia or an injured plantar fascia, they have to compensate elsewhere. And of course, guess what number one compensation is? It's going to be the Achilles tendon, which is back here. So, I think there's a bigger consideration here to consider that, this could be an injury that also could translate into other types of problems.
So I know Kendall personally, and she's tough as nails. And I think Justin Herbert's pretty tough. What do you do to heal this kind of injury? What kind of treatments would you use?
Well, look, this is the thing. I mean, you want to basically be able to do some type of immobilization. Maybe a cam walker, which is like a walking boot. In our case here at Special Surgery, we use the Malio Train, which is a special orthopedic sock that really gives excellent support of both the fascia and the Achilles. But, again, people have to realize that this is a pretty serious injury, particularly for someone who has to do a lot of running. And in his case, we know that's his style. So I'm more concerned, though, as I said earlier, about developing a problem with his Achilles tendon, because, as I said, what happens, the Achilles, which is notoriously injured in people who are active, has a very low blood supply. And that also makes it less elastic and more prone to injury. So I think there's a double hit here, possibly here, guys.
Dr. Rock Positano is joining us, the Joe DiMaggio Heel Pain Center. I know this is like your everyday life, Dr. Rock, but for us to have a live foot on our stream is something unique for us.
This is the first time, Maggie, I have ever used a live foot on any of my broadcasts. So, this is a first for me as well.
I would love it. Work it in. I think it's great.
Let's face it. Look, I mean, Pearl, is this not the best thing for effect? Look, it's actually here.
It's perfect. Rock, quickly before we go, I know we brought you on to talk about Justin Herbert. I don't want to surprise you with something, but you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. Yep. Are you just expecting that after, the Achilles injury that he suffered last September, would you be expecting that he's going to be full on ready to go with all the treatment he's done?
Yeah, look, I mean, this guy is a very, very disciplined athlete. He's working with a great medical team. The New York Jets have a great medical team led by Dr. Elliot Hirschman. I mean, they're really, really excellent. I think he'll have a really good season. Of course, as we had mentioned earlier on one of our other, I think, get-togethers, was that the problem with an Achilles injury, as well as actually a plantar fascia injury, there's a psychological component here, which means even though you may be feeling great, in the back of your mind, you may lose that little split second to give yourself that extra push. And I think that's what makes foot injuries particularly important in the sports medicine world, because there is that psychological component that no matter how good it feels, you're thinking in the back of your mind, well, if I push this a little bit, if I turn a little quicker, if I have to really, roll out to the outside quicker? Am I going to re-injure myself? And I think that's an important thing. That little split second, as you know, in professional sports makes a difference between either a home run or a foul out, or in this case, a touchdown.
Dr. Positano, real quick. So it's August 2nd right now. The first game is September 8th for Justin Herbert. Is that enough time to really feel confident in him healing? Basically I'm asking, should we draft him in fantasy football? Is he going to be okay by week 1?
Look, I think he'll be able to play. I think what they'll probably do is they'll probably stabilize his plantar fascia. And that's really the big thing, is that once they stabilize it and they really, really firmly support him inside his cleat, I think he'll be pretty good. Now, again, but that's that psychological component we just spoke about. Is he going to have that confidence to be able to put that extra oomph into it? That's really the difference here.
Awesome. Dr. Positano, thank you so much. We always appreciate these visits and your expertise and lending all of your knowledge in this area to us, to our show. And we got a live foot on.
Yeah, and we have to thank Kendall.
Yeah, thank you.
She Kendall
did great.
Dupre is very happy. Yes, actually, Kendall, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Yeah, I was going to say, can we see your face?
I was going to say,
hi, Kendall.
There she is.
Thank goodness.
The owner of the foot here. Hi.
Thankfully, you didn't have Shaquille O'Neal as the person working in your office.
No, Shaquille O'Neal's foot. No, Shaquille's foot we wouldn't be able to put on the screen.
Yeah, you need another screen for that one.
Thank you.
Pearl.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all right.
guys.
But hey, guys, thanks again.
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you, Doc.
The LeBron James of foot doctors. Dr.
Awesome.
Rock Positano. Yes. CeeLo, you have questions.
Well, the live foot was throwing me off there. Who is Kendall?
Kendall is Dr. Positano's assistant. And
okay.
And luckily for everybody, she has a nice foot.
I was going to say, is it a prerequisite to working there? It's like, all right, your resume looks good, but can you take off your socks?
Yeah, take off your socks.
I was very just happy to, lend her foot. I was like, is this a patient at 7:30 Eastern in the morning? What are we doing here? But okay, now it makes sense.
You got to get up early if you want to see Dr. Rock. Perloff goes and gets treated there, and he, it's awesome. And you see every professional athlete in New York City in the office. Yeah,
I go early just for the celebrity watching, to be totally honest.
Camped out in the office.
Yeah, you never know. I keep it, there's confidentiality. I won't tell you. I didn't see Jimmy Smith's like Maggie, but no. But yeah, no, Doc is up early. So if you have any questions, CeeLo, we can get a live foot for you to explain.
And you're going early on what, Saturdays and Sundays? Because you're here Monday through Friday. Early.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, when I can. No, are you kidding me? We start at 6 a.m. Eastern, 4:30. I'm there. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on.
It's a rare appointment.
Now, you've covered the Jets for a long time.
Yes.
Can you think of any head coaches who would have enjoyed that segment?
I certainly can. Yes, I can. That was that was wild. Rex is one of one. I will say that.
Were you there for that?
I was there, not full time, but partially. Yes, I was.
I mean, the best part about Rex Ryan's foot fetish, and let's call it what it is he doesn't back off of it.
I was going to say. Yeah.
He's not like, oh, this is internet rumors. This is just conjecture. I've been wrongly accused of having a foot fetish. He's like, I like it.
Wait, before we get more into this, does everybody feel okay about Justin? Did you walk away saying, I am still drafting Justin Herbert in fantasy football?
No. Well, especially you're telling me now he's not going to score any touchdowns. He's going to be handing the ball off 35 times. So that's number one. But then number two, no, because Dr. Positano did say this is serious. And
you plan off on it. It affects everything.
Anytime you mention the Achilles, I get so nervous.
I got to tell you, I was feeling a little better for the Chargers before that segment. Now, like you, I'm getting a little bit of your nerves. Sorry.
CeeLo, can we just hold tight 1 second?
Yeah.
Edgar's in San Diego, wants to talk about Justin Herbert. Edgar, are you nervous this morning?
No, not at all. Well, a little bit. I was.
What's your thought on Herbert?
First time calling here. So I just want to say a little bit about Herbert and the slander that he gets through the media. A lot of it is not his fault. Under Staley, who was brought in as a defensive-minded head coach, he never had a top 25 defense, so he was always bottom 5 of the NFL, and they still won many games despite of that. His weapons that everyone talks about, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, only played 6 games together in the past 2 years. That game that they lost against Jacksonville, second half, they ran the ball 3 times. I mean, any head coach, when you have a 28-point difference lead, you're just going to run the ball and run out the clock. So, to me, Herbert is worth the $55 million. He's probably worth more. There are a few San Diego Charger fans still out here, so the Chargers still have some fans, And just overall, I just feel like with Harbaugh expectation, my expectations, they win 10 games, make it to the wild card game, and like Perloff said, they might lose, they might win. Playoffs are a different story. That's the realistic expectation. I know he's getting paid $55 million, Maggie, but it's his first year with Harbaugh. It's not
make or break.
They won so many games despite of staying. You know.
Edgar, it's a fine call. It's a good call by you. Thank you for making it and proving to Perloff that there still are Charger fans in San Diego.
I'm surprised by that because I heard a lot of people like St. Louis got angry at the Chargers in San Diego. Like it was an instant turnoff because they abandoned the city in a lot of ways.
But it's such a bummer because you spend your life rooting for a team and then, you got to look elsewhere or just become a fan of football, I guess. But no, Edgar's got the sober view. He definitely does. And I think he might be more than the majority, but we had calls earlier today saying, no, they should have an expectation because Harbaugh's not like your average coach who has to come in off of a team that's won, 4 games and they got to build this thing from the ground up. No, you've got Herbert, you've got Bosa, you've got Khalil Mack. Yeah. You have pieces here that I think it's fine to expect that they're really good right out of the gate.
Well, listen, first of all, I agree with Edgar. That was a lot of Brandon Staley. Was the reason that Herbert hadn't met his expectations. But, they had Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and they were not dominant in any way. Those are two guys who've had trouble staying on the field as well. You're telling me like Bosa and Mack, that's who you're counting on? They'll charge it up. Do they have a new medical staff? That I want to know as well.
More issue for Rock Positano.
That's an important part of this.
Let's get to CeeLo. He's got updates this morning.
Hello. So little did I know when I brought you the story late in yesterday's show that there'd be a ruling just a few hours later. So that federal judge did indeed overturn the jury's $4.7 billion verdict in that class action lawsuit filed by Sunday Ticket subscribers against the NFL and is now granted judgment for the league. So we talked about this yesterday, that maybe someone got to the judge, magically turn this thing around.
Box
so this
seats.
is U.S. District Judge Philip Gutierrez ruled that the testimony of 2 witnesses for the subscribers had flawed methodologies and should have been excluded. And without their testimony, no reasonable jury could have found class-wide injury or damages. So you won't be getting that check, or at least not anytime soon.
Yeah, I saw the other part, too, was that they didn't have a proper understanding of the damages. Like, the total amount was too much. And I was like, well, that feels like a technicality. But, here it is.
What's done is done.
So you
thought you had the NFL was going to be cutting some checks. Sounds like maybe not, other than to their lawyers who probably did a pretty good job of helping to get that thing overturned, right?
Can't we get $5 off the bill? Something here? Throw us a bone, court system.
Another W for the NFL owners. Wow, they can't catch a break.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Simone Biles becomes the first woman to win 2 Olympic all-around titles since 1964 and 68. Just the 3rd woman to earn the title multiple times and the first to do it in non-consecutive games, as she captured gold again yesterday and afterwards rocking a very specific piece of jewelry.
And my goat necklace is just kind of an ode because the people love it and then some people hate it, so it's like the best of both worlds. And I was like, okay, if it goes well, we'll wear the goat necklace. I know people will go crazy over it.
I'm sure that was the case. Staying humble, though, never could have imagined all of this.
It is crazy that I am in the conversation of greatest of all athletes because I just still think I'm Simone Biles from Spring, Texas that loves to flip.
Of course, that's not the case. She is a worldwide star and sensation, and the whole USA women's gymnastics team has been all the rage in the Instagram posts and some of the back and forth drama with former athletes and throwing shade and all that. So they have been a storyline over there in Paris. And now that is the women of USA Gymnastics winning 6 straight Olympic all-around titles, which dates back to, I believe, the 2004 Summer Games. So it has been quite a run. And she continued that yesterday, and Suni Lee took home bronze in that event as well. Katie Ledecky, now the most decorated American woman in Olympic history. She had another silver medal yesterday in the 4x200-meter relay. That's her 13th medal, breaking a tie with a collection of other swimmers, including Natalie Coughlin and Dara Torres. She's got 8 golds, 4 silvers, 1 bronze in her Olympic career, and I believe she's got the 800-meter freestyle still to come as well. I think one more individual event, so she could add to that total before these summer games come to an end. Baseball-wise, Mike Trout is out for the season. Another meniscus tear, as the back end of his career here has just been riddled with injuries. In fact, second half games played by Trout over the last 4 seasons, 2021, 0. 2022, he did play 40. Last year, he played 1. This year, he will play 0.
So, wasted potential.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Well, it's funny because he already won 3 MVPs. I was thinking about this. I'm like, so he already is in the conversation for like greatest, but like where if the last 5 years hadn't been marred with injury, he'd be Babe Ruth or whatever that equivalent is.
Or maybe not the same kind of player exactly, but like that latter half of Ken Griffey Jr.'s career where he kind of went downhill, a lot of injuries. I mean, not quite perfectly the same type of player, but as far as their stature in the game at their peak and then maybe not being able to sustain it as long because their body broke down.
He was always funny because his analytics and everything was like elite, like Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth territory, but the team never did anything in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he was a weird guy to have in that greatest of all time debate.
Yeah, you're right. CeeLo, thank you. I have to read this comment from our YouTube chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, because Dr. Rock Positano just joined us, a world-renowned foot doctor, and he demonstrated with a live foot of his assistant what Justin Herbert is going through. And I would like to point out that Big Bad John said, I'm just glad Dr. Rock is not a proctologist. That deserved to be read on the air. We are also happy about that. CeeLo, thank you.
Hey, Bill, get over here. Maggie and Perloff got a question.
Pull him down and bend over, Bill. Yeah. Anywho, 855-212-4227. Lots more to do, including more football. Last night, very interesting stuff around Caleb Williams. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, ready? This is Andrew Perloff. Okay. This is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute sponsored by Metal Supermarkets, the convenience store for metal. Find a store at metalsupermarkets.com. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by Metal Supermarkets, the convenience store for metal.
2 minutes remaining.
This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by Metal Supermarkets, the convenience store for metal. Find a store at metalsupermarkets.com. I got good news and bad news for NFL fans.
Show in town. Andrew sunny afternoon. Grabbed a bat and took the field under the summer moon. He said, Jack, let's show 'em how the Bogush boys can play. But little did they know he had whiskey in his sway. Oh, Andrew Bogush, swaying side to side with a bottle.
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. All right, Maggie, yesterday you posed a question on the Maggie and Perloff show. What are you going to watch? The Hall of Fame game or the Olympics? And it was the gymnastics all around. So I know you watched both.
Yeah, I did.
Because we all did. A lot of sports fans did. How did you balance it? Did you wait for commercial breaks or did you have two screens?
No, so what I ended up doing was I got lucky and I did get to watch it live. Simone in the afternoon.
Oh, gotcha.
And I
Okay.
super lucked out because, man, I'll hand it to gymnastics. They set up for maximum drama. Like, she's always going last. You know, they set up her floor routine where, you know, she just needs a 13. By the way, you got to be freaking Einstein to understand how they score gymnastics, which clearly I'm not. But they set it up so it's like they know exactly how much Simone needs to get the gold. This is the second time this has happened for max drama. And of course, she blew it out of the water. Now, I didn't get a chance to watch every single apparatus, but I was there for the very dramatic conclusion.
Is there controversy around judging because she was on the high beam?
Yeah. High bar?
One where you walk along like
the beam. It's just the regular beam.
Anyway, she kept sort of half falling off, and the judge is like, well, she's not going to get dinged too much because it was a good recovery. But I was wondering, do the judge say, well, it's Simone Biles, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt? Is there a lot of controversy around judging? Because it seems sometimes a bit arbitrary. It's so subtle.
Well, I think it's just her degree of difficulty is so high. Like she's
she can
starting
make up for a mistake.
Exactly. She's starting at such a high level. She can afford a 10th of a deduction here and a 10th there, and she's still so much better than everyone else.
Sometimes she steps out of bounds in her floor routine, and it doesn't seem to matter because she's flying on the other moves.
Man, so I asked this question too because I really didn't know, and I put it out to Twitter, and I actually got a good answer from someone who does this for a living. I asked how much money in future earnings did Simone Biles make for herself in these Olympics? Because she'd already been known as this great champion, and she's around, and she does, I'm sure, a lot of appearances and endorsements and all of that stuff. But, these gold medals now have put her in a completely different stratosphere, I think. And so I asked, and I got a response back from a guy named Doug Eldridge who works with athletes doing PR and as an agent. He said, looking at her Olympic resume and cultural impact, she's a top-tier talent in the sport, a big dollar draw outside of it because her story checks all the salient boxes. This is how they think about it. Ability, overcoming adversity, focus, fortitude, grace, and messaging. He thought conservatively she's getting 10 to 15 million in the next 18 months alone.
That's it?
I thought that was pretty good. In the next 18 months alone, not her whole life.
Oh, really?
18 months, speaking engagements, endorsements, you're getting 10 to 15 million. You set yourself up forever.
Oh, it's funny because I thought you were, the way you were setting that up, I thought you were giving me a bigger number. I just saw Gordon Hayward retired. You know, he made $277 million.
Basketball's insane.
But Simone Biles is going to make more than that. She's like
you
the
thought that
GOAT.
was light? Okay.
Yeah, she's the GOAT.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean, maybe this guy's wrong. I feel like, yeah, that's easy. Like, isn't like the quarterback at LSU, whoever, making $9 million of marketing, or is that not really marketing?
Well, I'm just saying football and gymnastics are a bit different.
But I think she's like Mary Lou Retton cashed in so much. I feel like she is I think she's the most famous Olympian right now because Phelps is gone, Bolt is gone. Is there anyone even close? Oh, Ledecky, but swimming, I don't know. I feel like she's so far and away the most famous. I thought she'd be even making more money.
Well, again, he's just saying the next year and a half. Like,
yeah.
You know, her whole life, she might come out with 40, 50. If she plays her cards right, It could be way more than that, investing it. I thought that was pretty good. Next year and a half, you're going to make $15 million just on speaking engagements and endorsements alone?
I figured she's already made $50 to $100 million in her career.
I don't know.
Don't you think? I saw the documentary in her houses.
Really balling out.
She definitely, and I don't know if her boyfriend, who's now on the Bears, her husband who's now on the Bears, has gotten paid yet. Like really paid. Somebody has a lot of money. I think she's done really, really well.
EJ's in the home studios, wants to weigh in on this. What's up, EJ?
Hey, I mean, well, Jonathan Owens, he just got signed by the Bears, but you're talking about, a deal that's not massive money. So I think a lot of this money is coming from Simone. You're talking about Jonathan Owens, 2 years, $4 million. So,
he's a backup.
So he isn't. Yeah, he's not getting paid like that. But I think Simone is going to be okay when it comes to bread. And I agree. I thought the number Wade was a little low, but I remember, she doesn't have to do anything anymore. Like, she could just, like Maggie said, just do speaking engagements, just do endorsements. Like, if you're Gordon Hayward or someone else, you have to keep playing in order to keep making that money. So I guess that's a little bit of a difference. Like, you perform for a week and then you got $20 million coming to you for the next 15 months. I will sign up for that tomorrow.
Well, you had to train for all those years, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
But you're right.
It's trained all her life. I mean, like the performance of actually,
right,
getting it done, on the big stage. You're not talking about an 82-game season or 17 grueling NFL games. Like, she goes out there, she dominates. It's kind of like a boxer. It's like Floyd Mayweather, goes out there for, dances around the ring for a couple of minutes and gets $100 million. Like, it's a great setup, and that's why she's the GOAT.
Well, it's so funny because we talk about numbers. We throw around such big numbers. 10 to 15 is, what was it? To 15 to 20? It was
10 to 15 in the next 18 months.
Right. That's so small in our world now because we've been talking all show about Justin Herbert. What does $55 million a year get you?
Yeah, a year.
Yeah, and it's just weird because Simone Biles is a historic athlete. They're going to do the ESPN list of the top 100 athletes of this century, and she's going to be like 5.
Yeah, right.
And Justin Herbert will be like probably 11. No, I'm just kidding. He'll be probably 311.
He's not even 11 on the 100 greatest NFL players right now, according to the other players.
I think Simone Biles, I think she's going to do very, very well. I mean, I agree with everything he said. She's the full package. Maybe that is the number, but yeah, I can't imagine that she's ever going to want for money.
No.
She's so darn famous now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anyone could go broke, but I don't think that she's going to be, hopefully, not ever enduring anything like that. And it's a great moment. It's kind of funny when you hear, so she has this the necklace that says, like, the GOAT, like the greatest of all time. And she's like, yeah, I like it because half the people like it and half the people hate it. So I forgot how she put it. So, like, it's the best of both worlds. And I was like, wow, is that, I don't know if she meant it to say exactly that way. I don't want to parse her words like every little thing. But if that's not a commentary on where we are, like, it's not, no one's going for 100% approval rating anymore because you realize that's a fool's errand. And people aren't going to like you no matter even if you're the quote unquote perfect person with a perfect story or what have you. And so she knows half the people are going to like it and half the people are going to hate it. And that's the best of both worlds. That's an interesting way to put it, didn't you think?
I'm not sure I totally follow you. Yeah, I don't know. The quote is okay. Yeah. I actually thought that was kind of a funny quote. Like, what's she talking about here?
Yeah. I guess if you're angering half the people, then you're doing your job.
But it was she's like, do you guys like my necklace? Is it like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like
I think she got asked about it, right?
Yeah. Like, she's like got this tremendous moment. It felt like a bit of a minor detail. I have a question. Would you guys take Gordon Hayward's career?
Over what? Just anything?
Like, Would you take the money, and he's a total disappointment as an NBA player, 100% disappointment. Would you rather get, say, half the money and then fulfill your potential, or get $270 million and be way overpaid?
I mean,
I would take Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, right?
I would take a guy who made half his money and actually succeeded.
Like won a championship and was a great
And
player.
was a regular all-star and didn't get hurt every single time.
Well, that's because after you make $100 million, how much more do you really need?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even Simone Biles, I'm like 50 to 20, she's fine. Like 270, do you really need that much money? Gordon Hayward kind of lives probably in Utah. I don't even know.
I think we'll probably remember Gordon Hayward more for Butler than we were for the pros.
100%.
Yeah.
But he's in the what Andrew Brandt calls the getting paid Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Sports Business Hall of Fame.
Which is, of course, first ballot Kirk Cousins.
Gold jacket. Green jacket, really. We're talking about money. Not the Masters, obviously. Okay, coming up, we have some thoughts on Caleb Williams we want to get to you in just moments. Stay tuned. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.
All right. I do not think I have a read. Okay.
On the beat, Paris got a problem. Mickey Cully ain't discreet. Olympics coming fast, but the water's not neat. Gotta clean it up, make the competition sweet. Snoop's in the house and he's laying it down. In Paris, where the river's supposed to wear the crown. But there's trouble in the water, yeah, it's going around. While Peter Buddy's on the sideline, I'm making a sound. Now Peter Bellotti ain't fazed by the fuss. While the city's in a hurry, he's missing the bus. Olympic fever high and everyone's a rush. Peter's laid back, in the calm, no crush. Athletes train hard, dreams big, they trust. While Peter's in his world, the silence robust. Paris may hustle, sparkle and bust, but Peter Bellotti's mind is clear from Olympic dust. As the world tunes in for the gold, the glory, Peter's got other tales, another story. Not about the races or the podium's top. He's cool in the shadows where he doesn't flop. Back to Snoop, with a message so clear, trying to fix the waters before the Olympians cheer. Yet there's Peter Bellotti, sipping on his beer. Olympics might roar, but Peter just doesn't hear. In a city famed for lights, art, and more, Peter Bellotti finds his peace not keeping the score. While rowers row and swimmers soar, Peter's vibe is different on his own shore. So as we close this rap, take it from Snoop. We're all in this game, in every group. But remember our man, Peter Bellotti, unique in the truth, marching to his beat in his own loop. Get it with Snoop till your double chill. On the beat, Paris got a problem. Mickey Cully ain't discreet. Olympics coming fast, but the water's not neat. Gotta clean it up.
1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Looks like things are going really, really well for Caleb Williams in Chicago. And welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. He hasn't played a game yet.
Wait, yeah,
taking a snap.
Looks like, what are you talking about? Looks like things are going really well. Yeah, I mean, it's training camp.
Well, it seems like the teammates really like him. And he is somebody who, right now, the reviews from both inside and outside the building, for the most part, seem to be good. And I'm taking baby steps here because I remember a couple of weeks/months ago when there were questions about whether Caleb Williams was going to be a diva or whether or not he's trying to get partial ownership of the team as part of his new contract.
You have zero information on what is actually happening in that locker room. None. Less than none. You have no idea. Yes, these are positive reviews. This is all window dressing. This is all, what people say in press conferences. It's all lies, and I don't know. This doesn't mean anything.
I would just say there doesn't seem to be a lot of hiccups, whereas you already had in the offseason members of the team. I believe it was Jalen Johnson who said that diva act's not going to work in here, and that was long before they had ever gotten to know him either. So I'm not the only one who is saying, there was maybe there could have been a personality conflict. And that doesn't seem to be the case at all.
Did you know that Justin Fields and Nick Foles were having a blood feud in the Chicago Bears locker room?
We probably should have.
No, of course, because you're not really hearing what's going on. And yes, Caleb Williams is saying all the right things, but we're about to get to this clip. I think him saying all the right things, we don't know what exactly this means. Is this being a little phony, perhaps? Is this everybody trying to present a good front? What's really happening in Chicago?
Okay, well, I can tell you this from Kevin Byard. Now, Kevin Byard was on 670 The Score, and he was asked about Caleb Williams addressing the team on Monday after practice, and he said it had nothing to do with anything going on the field, but what Caleb said was, we're all grown men here, right? He was like, we're getting a little too sloppy. We're leaving water bottles, towels, and all types of things around. Custodians have a lot of square footage that they have to cover in the whole building. Let's try to help them out by cleaning up after ourselves. He says, when you want to be a great player, you always focus on the little details, not even just the details of the play, but the details of everything around you. So Caleb Williams' message to the Bears locker room was clean up the sloppy locker room.
Okay.
Unique. Well,
I'm not Yeah, it sounds like somebody who's trying to present themselves as a leader.
Okay, which is not like a crime.
Yeah,
and
it's just it just reminded me of one thing that there are a lot of people working in this building. Deshaun Watson famously paid for we don't know. Yeah, it just feels like quarterbacks. He's acting like a quarterback, and the key word there to me is acting.
Like cosplaying a little quarterback karaoke.
Doesn't that sound maybe it's real? That's the thing. I don't know if it's real. If it's Russell Wilson, this feels like he's in a dangerous territory where he is a rookie. I get it now. I didn't even he stood in front of the whole team and said, clean up your water bottles.
Yes. And towels, because the janitorial staff and the custodians have to work hard. Let's try to help them out.
So I think he's reading a book on how to act like a leader quarterback, and then he's presenting it.
This is not genuine.
No, I don't know if it's genuine or not, but I feel like he is emphasizing, he's trying to work on his leadership skills. And I think, is it genuine? Act as if you're a leader. I don't know. But I do think he's intentionally trying to be a leader here, right? Will you agree with that? He's trying to present himself as the leader of this team.
I think so, and I also think that there's a more generous read here, which is he just really is very cognizant of everyone in the building. And okay. So Amani Toomer is a former Pro Bowl wide receiver for the New York Giants, and he was on Craig Carton's show. Now Amani, not a hot taker. Okay, so this is not somebody who's out here just Skip Bayless style, like shooting from the hip. He did not like this. Here's what he said.
He's Russell Wilson 2.0.
Uh-oh.
This is not going to go over well.
Uh-oh.
If you came in the locker room, I've been in this locker room for 8 years, like you said. And some rookie's going to come in who hasn't played one snap.
Right.
Talking, we're wearing the fingernail polish. Now he's going to come in here and tell me, who've been here, who've been through the struggle, that I need to clean up? No, how about rookie? How about you clean up after me?
Right.
How about that? Don't give me this crap.
I'll tell you what, you and I are lucky enough to know Amani Toomer personally. He's not somebody who is entitled, walks around with an ego. This obviously really rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah. I didn't get it at first until I actually heard more about this. Yeah, I'm on Team Amani here. Like, that's a little obnoxious. Caleb Williams said that. No.
Here's what I think. If he actually is doing it for the right reason, which is looking out for the other people on the staff, then how could you say how could you say it's wrong?
Because
if you're doing it because you think this story is going to get out and it's going to look favorably on you, and you're doing it for the PR and the publicity, then obviously this is just the beginning of what is probably might be personality conflicts in the locker room. Because I think Amani has a good beat on what the vibe is like between rookies and veterans.
I don't think it's either of those exactly. Okay. I don't think it's his concern about the people in the building. I think he wants to present himself to the team as a leader of this team, and he saw this as an opportunity to say, if he was a backup cornerback as a rookie, he never would have got it. But there might be a backup safety who's really concerned about the custodians in the building. Right. Like, he's just like, I can't sleep at night.
Mom or dad was a custodian, thinking about them a little bit more. Not that you need to have a personal, a personal connection like that. But, I think about the kitchen staff because my parents own a restaurant. It's just like what you grew up in.
Whatever. You're being way too serious about it. I was half kidding about the guy.
This
is obviously Caleb Williams making a presentation and saying, I'm the leader of this team. I want to present myself as a leader. I want to be a quote-unquote quarterback. Feels like he read a book on quarterbacking, much like Russell Wilson sometimes feels like.
Right.
This is what a quarterback does. This is what, maybe he did read a book. Maybe he said Joe Montana did this or something. Which is not necessarily bad. I think he should try to present himself as a leader, but I don't believe that he's up at night worried about the people in the building in Chicago.
We're talking about Caleb Williams got up in front of the team and basically gave a plea to please clean up after yourself in the locker room. Literally towels, water bottles, stuff like that, being sloppy in their space.
Yeah.
And former Pro Bowl wide receiver Amani Toomer called him out on this, saying, you've never taken a snap. The veterans would say, clean up after me, rookie. You can't come in here and tell us what to do. Amani also said this is like Russell Wilson stuff, right? That CEO presenting yourself in that way. We talked about this yesterday when we were talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition. Russ presented himself that way, and the Seahawks won tons of games and won a Super Bowl, and they were led by the Legion of Boom. And you didn't think it was a really big deal that maybe Russ's personality didn't really vibe with other guys in the building. But I would say I think the Seahawks definitely left a lot of meat on the bone because they could have had a dynasty. And I do believe Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman that they believe they could have had a dynasty. I mean, they were a really great team with an amazing defense and a great quarterback. And
well, yeah, but I don't get that because Russell played really well. But even Russell, I don't think he would have set up as a rookie and said, clean up your water bottles. Like, that was a team with leaders. I mean, you're going to tell Bobby Wagner to clean up his water bottle?
I'm not telling Bobby Wagner
I think Bobby Wagner was
Chancellor. I'm not telling anybody anything.
I just think this, honestly, now that I hear I'm on Team Amani, I think I'm going to drop Caleb Williams in my fantasy rankings because of this. It seems like such a phony baloney
And you think
move.
it will actually translate on the field in a bad way?
No, I was watching last night, and I just think, and Troy Aikman said it well, like, this kid has everything you want. He's got the talent. He's got the mentality. The reality is, though, however, he's a rookie quarterback. Like I think Troy Aikman said everything positive. He said, and you said this many times, don't expect C.J. Stroud. Like, you can't put an expectation to have 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns on this kid because it's just not that easy. Listen,
I think you can. I mean, I get
4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns.
It's a lot. C.J. Stroud just really tilted it's like what do they say about like the he messed up the average of
and that's what
class.
That's where Troy was coming from too.
Yeah.
He was like, listen, he could have a great year and not have. He could be headed towards the Super Bowl in the second year and not have half the season that C.J. Stroud had. Yeah. And there's a lot of evidence of that too. Like this is usually year 2 or year 3 is when like they really take off.
Happens.
Yeah.
Let's hit the phones at 855-212-4227. Jeff is our pal in Pittsburgh. What's up, Jeff?
Oh man, Maggie, I'm Team Perloff on this one, man. I mean, I can only imagine at my construction site if, I don't know nothing about an NFL locker room, but what I do know is about a workplace.
Yep.
And if I've been there 10 years and the guy to my right has been there, 8 years, another guy to my left been there 7 years, and then a brand new boss comes in and starts saying that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you pick up the ball, or it'll be kind of under the breath, like, who's this cat think he really is?
Jeff, I agree with you. There's a pecking order, right? There's a natural pecking order, whether it's an NFL locker room, a construction site, or anything. However, I think that we expect these quarterbacks, especially the generational talent, quote unquote, the first round draft picks, all of them, quite frankly, they're so polished now. And I think we expect that from them. It's like they have to be these perfect, kind of perfectly presented guys. Like maybe it's their own pressure. It's like a quarterback has to be perfect both on the field and off the field.
You know what jumped into my mind was that rookie quarterbacks are so dicey that every single one of them is like a 50% hit rate at all. I'm not even talking about being C.J. Stroud. I'm talking about like not being Zach Wilson.
Right.
And I really don't think Caleb Williams is in danger of being Zach Wilson, who was so unproven in college that we understand it now. But like there's 6 quarterbacks drafted. I mean, 4 are going to not be great. 2 are going to be absolute busts, and 2 might be in the middle. So I was, there's a lot. Have you been reading about Drake May might be 3rd on the depth chart behind Joe Milton? Like,
yeah, I did see that.
So it's just crazy to me. Like we are forgetting how dicey this is to be a rookie quarterback, even for Caleb Williams, a sure thing.
That is definitely one read on this. My other one is this one of the, I don't say unintended consequences of NIL in college, right? And let me explain myself. You have to be a brand, essentially, before you even step on campus. You're a teenager. You're still all closer to a child than you are a full-grown adult. You have to present this sort of this mature personality to probably be attractive to get NIL and get sponsors and all of that stuff, because that's the way you make money when you're in college. So I think guys, then let alone going through the draft process and all of these interviews where you're sitting there with all these adults, like, trying to make a good impression on them. Of course they'd be cosplaying adults. Like that's what they're trying to do to go. I'm sure that's probably what they're practicing and being taught to get ready for all these countless interviews and also to try to maximize and make as much money as they can.
But is that different? I mean, quarterbacks have been interviewing with teams. I'm thinking like there weren't really actually in this draft. There were not a lot of brands unto itself. You had Caleb was a brand, but then Jaden Daniels came out of nowhere. Drake May, was he really a brand?
Check their Instagram. I bet they
Drake
are.
Drake May was always kind of quiet. Penix obviously was, I think, slightly low profile. J.J. McCarthy was
Penix is low profile. He played in the national championship game.
Yeah, I mean, but Penix is always
possible.
I mean, Penix has been around for 6 years. I mean,
Indiana's different from playing at the national championship game.
He was a star. I mean, yeah, but I don't think like Penix was ever like out there like promoting himself. Bo Nix was not a self promoter, and Bo Nix has been there since I was sophomore in college. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like like Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, like are these guys? Caleb, I think, is my point only is Caleb is a little different. Like he's more of a brand than most
Heisman
guys.
Is a sophomore.
Yeah. I just don't think like these other quarterbacks. I'm not sure that marketing has influenced it that much because quarterbacks always have to be mature to get drafted. They have to act mature. But when you think about like Shador is a brand, big time. Caleb Williams is a brand who are the other quarterbacks that are like Carson Beck's not a brand, for example, is he?
Do you know he drives a Ferrari? Or sorry, a Lamborghini? Do you know that? He does.
But is he?
It's amazing. I mean,
Is he
good for
like
him.
Carson Beck? Like, is he a
I think
household?
locally this matters, and then obviously the NFL is an even bigger stage. I'd love to hear from more people like Jeff in Pittsburgh who had not a problem, but said if Caleb Williams had come onto my job as the new guy and told everybody to clean up around them, physically, the space, the towels, the water bottles, the whatever, it would not have gone over well. Whether anyone confronted him to his face about it or said just muttered under their breath, you would have side-eyed this guy. And that's what Pro Bowl wide receiver Monty Toomer said as well. 855-212-4227. Is it already off to maybe a bit of a rocky start? I don't know. Got a lot to do, guys. End of the week means we hit you with a little M&P 500. Whose stock is up? Whose stock is down after an eventful one? We get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie Perloff. I can't believe what's going on around this place.
I mean, I think you should tell everybody what's going on.
I mean, how soft has this office gotten? It's ridiculous. Andrew Bogus, our good friend, often on updates here, he's filling in for Bill Ryder next after us on Infinity Sports Network, comes in and says, did you guys get anything for E.J. Stewart because of his devastating knee injury?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That is 100% correct.
And you were looking mostly at Maggie, not me, right?
Because I knew already that she was the adult in the room, but now I know even more so by your reaction to my question. Which, hey, EJ, by the way, how are you doing?
Yeah, EJ, good morning. So it's amazing you asked this question today of all days because I was like, yeah, my mom actually wanted to make something nice for EJ and dropped off cookies at her and his and Andrea's apartment yesterday. And my mom just yesterday. So now I do feel bad. My mom has been talking about this for like over a week.
Yeah.
But now I do feel bad because my mom made it and it's from her. Like Pam watches and listens to the show every single day. She feels like she knows EJ even though they only met yesterday and she wanted to do something.
Yeah, if Carol Perloff could figure out the YouTube channel, she would have sent something to EJ too.
The moms were all over it.
Right.
Now I do feel bad, but it was
But it's not that. It's one thing. Sending cookies, great, because EJ's mobility is lacking or food. That makes a lot of sense. You said maybe I'll buy him a card. You don't get another man a card. A card is something you get your wife on your anniversary because women like cards. Men do not give other men cards.
So I can't explain why I asked why this popped in my head today. I have previously thought like, hey guys, are we sending anything to EJ? Today I was like, well, we're past that stage. It popped back in my head. Now this is just about me, and I felt a little guilty that I maybe hadn't checked in on EJ enough since the injury. So I walked in here and said, have you guys sent anything? Maybe thinking that if you said no, I'd feel better that I didn't do anything either.
Good thinking.
So the card thing, it was just me thinking out loud. I don't know what I would have sent. I can't make cookies like Pam, but now I'm jealous that EJ's gotten love from both moms on this show. You're a mom.
No, my mom doesn't know about it yet, but she'll find out this weekend and we'll send EJ's.
No, but she fed him and gave him free gifts at your house. Well, Pam's driving I don't know how long to Forest Hills to give EJ cookies. Mm-hmm. I want to get hurt now.
Can I ask EJ something? EJ, if you open the mail and there's a card from Andrew Bogus with a picture of a cat hanging on there, it says, hang in there, buddy. Would that make your day, or would you be like, what is going on here?
We can't hear you.
EJ, we can't hear you, bud.
Sorry, I might be. I would be very happy for a card. I personally don't like giving out cards, so getting one, I'll be real. Like, I'm not sure how much I would be like, my day would be affected in a positive way. Right. I would be appreciative though because of the nature of what I'm dealing with. So I would gladly accept the card. I just know I'm someone who hates giving out cards. Why? So I just don't feel like they're great gifts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I feel like they're kind of a waste. I'm a minimalist. I don't like giving out gift card like greeting cards. I don't like wrapping presents. Like to me, it's like just give the person the thing that you're giving them. All the pageantry around it seems a little whatever. All right. I think a card is different because at least if that's the main thing, it is a message. I just think adding a card to a gift is kind of like an add-on. Of like, I don't really need that.
All right, so no card, no pageantry. What denomination of college football 25 coins can I send you to further fund your Hawaii program?
Well, the problem is there is no buying to make yourself better in EA college football for Dynasty. Now, if you want to do the stupid Ultimate Team thing, which I never do, that pay to be good thing, go ahead. That's not my thing. So
okay.
I don't know how you can help me with my Hawaii Dynasty. Which, by the way, it's going really well. I mean, year 10.
Only one man can help you with that, and his name's Colt Brennan. I think that I do feel bad now that we didn't send something, but we still have time. You're not going to be back for a little bit, so we still have time to get together something real big. I have EJ's address now, too, so now we can really start having some fun.
Whatever we send him, remember, don't put a card on top of it. But EJ, like you actually like every man is too lazy to wrap presents. It's the most annoying thing in the world. That you've wrapped it up in a philosophy, a Stoic philosophy, is brilliant. But you're just like us. You're just too lazy to do it. It's not like this is my philosophy of simplicity.
This
like
is
it's
my
some
religion.
Zen approach to get like, yeah, I'm a minimalist. Yeah, we all. I mean, every guy on earth has been like, his wife's been like, can you wrap the presents? Like, no, can you do it?
But you know what? I'm also someone who doesn't like doing stuff that I'm really bad at. I'm terrible at doing it too. So when I've tried it, I'm a terrible rapper.
Yeah, but
so to me, it's like now it's embarrassing because now not only did I not want to do this, and I agree, yes, you're lazy, it's a waste of time. But then now I give them this rap gift that took me way too long because I'm not good at it. And then the person gets it and they're like, oh, this is the rapping. I'm like, well, that was supposed to be the extra effort I did. And now I'm getting, chastised because I'm terrible at rapping gifts.
This is another one of these things where men really win out.
Oh, yeah.
Because the bar is set so low for you guys on whether or not you can wrap a gift. It's like men parenting. It's like you do anything and people are like, what a guy.
Wow.
Women, if I turned in some sloppy rapping, it'd be like, what, come on, Martha Stewart, or whatever. They would I'd get blown out of the water for this. You guys, it's like, oh my gosh, she put a bow on it.
You should see. We should have a wrap off in around Thanksgiving. Me versus EJ Bogus. You can get in if you want. It looks like a fourth grader rapped it when I do it. It's like that. Have you ever seen the cooking show Nailed It when they try and people who can't cook try and do baking and they have some weird creation? That's me rapping a present. Like, how logistically did you make it look this? Like, it's like a book and it's all lumpy. Like, is it a football or a book under there? I don't even know.
Last weekend was my niece's birthday, 2 years old, and my wife was out of town. So I found a bag.
Yeah.
I put there's a set of clothes and like a game in the bag, 2 pieces of tissue paper on top. We're good.
Oh,
Done.
I mean, by the way, CBS has got you because they know men will wrap, so they sell the bag for $6.99 and the tissue paper for a separate $3. That's a $9 add-on just so we don't have to wrap.
Mine has pre-done bags.
Oh, yeah.
You just take the tissue paper out, put the gift in, tissue paper back in, and you're done. They do it for you.
Yeah, Maggie, is that okay to get a gift? Is that satisfy the quotient?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, you got to be reusing these bags, right?
Yeah.
Every time I get one of these bags, I very carefully fold it, but you can really only do it like one time.
But it doesn't work during Christmas because you have a tree and you got to put a bunch of boxes that wrap. You can't put a bunch of bags under the Christmas tree. So that's when the metal hits the road or whatever that expression is.
We're getting away from the real thing, which is how shamed should we be that we hadn't said anything to EJ yet. EJ, I'm curious, did it cross your mind? Like, when are they going to send me something?
No, I didn't expect you guys to have to send anything. So no, that wasn't anything. I mean, I will say though, shout out to your mom, Pam, Maggie. She is lovely. It was great to meet her. The cookies were phenomenal. Like I knew you guys have, a catering background, so I expected something really good. I was even surprised at how great the cookies were. I'm not like just putting your mom over for the sake of it. Me and Andrea both were like, wow, this is actually really great.
Yeah.
White chocolate and lime. Never thought those would be flavors I would love. Amazing.
Such
Amazing.
a good
The best
combo.
cookies in that box.
Yeah. Such a good combo.
I got to get hurt or sick. What's the threshold to get cookies?
Well, the way you get
Go run on some turf, Perloff. You'll get.
The way you get
you'll get
cookies
hurt.
is if you hurt yourself in a charity kickball game, or if you are the person around this office who gives out Yankee tickets. My mom, I deputize my mom because we're lucky that we get access to tickets around here. I don't use them myself, but if someone else wants them, and then I give cookies to those people.
Oh, wait, I've had your mom. Your mom, you
Biscotti.
Yeah.
And I gave some to Boomer, and I got accused of being a total butt kisser, but it was just, because I had an extra
And that was
bag of
good.
cookies.
That was delicious.
I know, this
Maybe
is
the
all
best I've
Pam.
ever had, actually.
She's a really talented woman.
If I do a good job being Perloff next week, can I get cookies out of that?
I mean, Perloff hasn't gotten any, so.
That's true.
Although you don't eat sweets.
Yeah.
If you did eat sweets, she'd send you over dozens.
EJ, advice: do not wait by the door for anything from me or Bogus, because it's not happening.
Hobble over there.
And
well, yeah,
also,
in order for me to get to the door, it'll take me about 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm not putting that effort in. You think I'm putting that effort in to wrap a gift? No, I'm not waiting for your gift Perloff.
Yeah, and if I get injured, you're off scot-free. Don't worry about it, dude. I'm fine.
When you get injured.
Yeah, just text me.
The next time.
Yeah. Just text me. Feel better, bud. That's plenty.
Hang in there.
Hang in there.
Maggie, if you got hurt, I think we'd all rally. That would be...
Aw, you guys.
We'd have Maggie send herself something in our names.
Yeah.
Could you wrap this, Maggie, and then open it?
Like how it's all my info on the seamless orders and stuff. But actually, EJ orders it, and then I Venmo him. We got to get back on that. Yeah. The weird part about it is if I got hurt and you guys would send me something, like now I'm worried I'm like walking around the city and someone's going to push me into the road. Just give me a little break. Anyway.
Well, you're not going to steal third with one out. Total strategic
You know
mistake.
how to run the bases. You're good.
Couldn't even get on base, quite frankly.
Yeah. You know, the best thing that Maggie and I did was pop up to the second baseman. So we didn't have to, that's the only reason we're not where EJ was. But trust me, I was flirting with injury the entire time, but I couldn't get on base. Kickball. Sorry,
Harder
EJ,
than
you were
think.
too good.
Yeah. Bogus, thanks for making us feel bad about ourselves. We appreciate that.
I feel just as bad, so we're all in the same boat.
Now, if anything happens to us, definitely expecting a card from you.
Yeah. Hang in there, buddy.
Switch out the seats. CeeLo, Chris Lopresti is Andrew Bogus for today.
CeeLo definitely cannot wrap a present. I will guarantee you that. You think he can?
I could see CeeLo having an interesting hidden talent. I
Okay.
don't know if wrapping gifts is one of them, but I could see CeeLo. It's like he's actually an outstanding singer or something like that. I think he's got something that we don't know about.
Yeah. That doesn't help your spouse come December 15th. Oh, I can't rap that, but I can do a little Broadway show tune for you.
Can I sing you a song? Like, please don't. At that point. Okay, so while CeeLo is going to be coming on in here, I don't think we have enough time for the M&P 500. We'll have to still wait on that. We're doing a little stock up, stock down. If you want to call the show, you can do it at 855-212-4227. We also have a podcast that you can download every single day. If you give us a 5-star, it's a small 5-star review, small thing, really, really helps the show. Of course, the free Odyssey app there for you to download, Sirius XM channel 158, and youtube.com/infinitysportsnet, twitch.tv/infinitysportsnet.
CeeLo just walked in. I've guessed his hidden talent. I know what it is.
We think you have a hidden talent.
I think you're a great chef.
And I thought maybe you're a good singer. We both didn't pick that you are good at wrapping presents.
I wouldn't say I'm great at wrapping presents. I have the ability to wrap presents.
Oh, well, you're great then.
Chef, I can follow a recipe. I do cook dinner, but I don't have like my own creations.
You're not the bear?
I'm not the bear. No. And singing, I mean, I feel like I have a decent idea of like what on key sounds like, but I don't know that I'm really good at staying there.
Can you sing New York, New York?
I can hear that I'm off key. You know what I mean? Like I'm not tone deaf, I guess would be what I would say.
So you're good at everything. Look at CeeLo.
No, I think I'm average at everything. I'm solid.
Do you have a hidden
solid
talent?
Across the board. Do I have a hidden talent? Oh, that's a good question. Hidden.
Sorry, you can think about it.
Yeah, I might have to come back to you on that one.
He's one of the rare. He's just good at everything, and that fits.
I don't know about good, passable,
average at everything.
Average, right? Across the board, height, average. You know, weight, little above average or below average, depending on how you look at it.
I was gonna say, in this country, you're a rail thin.
I suppose not next to Perloff or yourself, but yeah. In this studio, I'm quite wide.
For the sports talk radio industry, you are wasting away.
I just leaned back and checked out CeeLo's figure. That is a weird moment.
He did, to get
Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. I don't know if that's an HR violation.
What's going on over there?
All that was missing was a woo woo. Now we're harassing EJ or CeeLo and EJ too.
Give us some sports updates before I get canceled here. What's going on?
I'll give you a little bit more from Giants corner John Mara in the aftermath of the first ever offseason Hard Knocks. The show certainly depicted a front office that was prepared and willing to trade up for a quarterback in the draft if possible.
I was nervous about giving up too much to go and get a quarterback, but I was prepared to let them do that if that's what they wanted to do. We made a decision to stay with Daniel. and add a weapon for him. And I think that's going to work out.
That's Daniel Jones, of course, who certainly had an up-and-down NFL career to date, but Mara has no regrets about the extension they signed him to prior to last season.
I'm still happy we gave him that contract because I thought he played really well for us in 22. Last year he got hurt, and let's be honest, when he was playing, we weren't blocking anybody. So let's give him a chance with a better offensive line and with some weapons around him to see what he can do.
Problem is the Giants have been talking about a better offensive line for the better part of the last decade.
You have one of the top paid left tackles in the entire NFL.
Right.
But anyway, huge miscalculation and misstep by Giants general manager and coach. Huge. Not to trade up to get a quarterback. If you are actually trying to keep this job longer, you definitely do the trade to get the QB, because Brian Daboll, I'm sorry, there's no offensive coordinator or head coach, I think, on planet Earth that's going to make Daniel Jones more than what Daniel Jones is, right? He's a good runner who gets hurt a lot. He's got a good arm, not great arm, good arm. And this is just who he is. If you really wanted to keep this job, you start over with the rookie quarterback and be damned how much it takes to get because if he misses, you're gone anyway.
Right.
And if he hits, now you have this job for another contract.
So you believe then, we saw the phone call on Hard Knocks when Shane called the Patriots.
Yeah.
So you believe that there was a deal to be made there had they offered enough? Because
Washington, maybe not the Pats.
Washington, I don't think was going to trade with them.
That was very clear.
If you wanted Penix, I think there was.
Well, then they passed. You could say they passed on Penix.
Yeah, right. I think that you could, maybe not the Patriots, so maybe it wasn't possible, but the idea that you would pass on a quarterback because it got too rich would be such a miscalculation.
Well, I think the issue was some of the stuff you're saying about the Giants was actually true for the Patriots at 3 too. Like, they had to take a quarterback. Yeah. So I don't, and they did make it very clear, like 2 was never an option. Like Washington, there was no trade talk for 2. It was impossible. 1 was never an option. So it was Drake May. But
passing on Penix is probably going to look bad.
Penix was a weird one. You say that now. We had no idea Penix was going to go number 8. It makes sense now. I hear you. And I'm a huge Michael Penix fan. I don't even remember, even in my mind, thinking, well, Penix 6? That just wasn't a thing.
Honestly, though, what are you doing if you're the Giants?
And you're not going to take McCarthy at 6. That was like, okay, you
that
say
was
all
a rumor.
Yeah, I know. But you say, you got to go quarterback to keep your job. Like, J.J. McCarthy at 6 would have been, that's problematic. That would have been, you can't take J.J., but come on. I'm not even surprised you went 11, but if they had taken him at 6, after you had Daniel Jones at 6.
Daniel Jones 2.0.
You go from Daniel Jones to J.J. McCarthy, who are you going to draft next? I mean, how many khakis are you going to have in this building? They couldn't draft McCarthy at 6, not after Daniel Jones.
The guys who did draft Daniel Jones, not the coach, but the general manager, did get to stick around for probably a lot longer than he should have.
Well, you're right, but
he drafted Saquon Barkley too and drafted Daniel Jones, and he got to stick around.
It's not just survival, though, too. There is also some common sense here. And you said yesterday, CeeLo, tell me if this applies. Maggie said you don't like when a team makes past mistakes and then just does the opposite for the sake of doing the opposite.
Like John Elway passed on Josh Allen because they had already failed with a bigger quarterback who looked inaccurate.
If you are a New York Giants executive, you have to make sure you never draft Daniel Jones again. Like, you can't. In fact, I wouldn't even take Drake May because he's from the ACC. He's from North Carolina. Too close. I'm sorry. I know your logic. I just do not ever want to repeat that mistake. And J.J. McCarthy would have been Daniel Jones 2.0. So I think, in a sense, you might as well keep 1.0 and get a quarterback next year.
Have fun with those 5 wins.
Not to stay Giants related, it's not really Giants related, but former Giants star running back Brandon Jacobs with a wild admission. So you'll recall he was basically like a linebacker carrying the ball, right? He was like 6'4", 260.
From Auburn.
Yes, from Auburn, right? And Louisiana guy growing up. And that's where we go to here. So you got to picture that body, maybe not quite as big and thick, but in high school, running it down your throat, while apparently high out of his mind, at least for one game.
He did a line of cocaine before a game in high school.
He did.
What?
Absolutely.
Wait a minute.
It was one of my homeboys that graduated the year before me. I was walking into the weight room. He was like, hey, guess what I got? What you got? I got that white girl. I'm like, oh, for real? You want to try it? I'm like, yeah. You try it.
So this is from the Raw Room podcast. So he did try it, and then let's find out how it went on the field in that game.
Yeah, what game was it? Right outside. What was the game?
338, 4 touchdowns. Killed it. I destroyed it.
So he had over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. We know athletes are superstitious, many of them by nature. So did he ever go back to the cocaine and football combo?
It was easy. I felt like I was the only one out there.
Great 337 is the 338.
And look, I ain't never did it again. I should have did it again.
It's risky business, but 338. OTD.
One and done. Certainly one to remember, I suppose.
Well, certainly a strategy that was perfected by former Giant Lawrence Taylor.
On the other side of the ball. Yeah, right.
Other side of the ball, yeah. But, I mean, he's not the first person in a Giants uniform to
But isn't
talk about this.
that the rumor about the old NBA and ABA that everybody was using? That's the stereotype. I always think, does your heart explode if you run when you're on cocaine?
I guess not. I guess you run for 338 and 4 touchdowns.
The risk that your heart's beating so fast that, God, dude, he's a big dude, too.
Yeah.
I would not have suggested that as a medical practitioner.
Wow.
Do a bunch of coke.
How'd you arrive at that one?
First of all, I do think that most people are better at sports when they're just a little tipsy. I mean, that's a fact. That's proven scientifically.
Well, what sport? You
Bowling.
know, bowling, darts, maybe golf.
Well, basketball. I found that, I think a lot of sports, like people do, the Red Sox famously did a shot before the game, right, in 2004. I do think you can play high-level sports with a little relaxer.
Calm the nerves a little bit,
I think that has happened.
And I think cocaine does the opposite of that.
Well, but cocaine, though, you do feel like you're on top of the world. I mean, maybe it gives you confidence.
I guess so.
Yeah, that doesn't calm you. Goes the other direction.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do a hallucinogen where, why is the left tackle wandering off and staring at the Gatorade bottle and massaging it? You don't want to be the wrong kind of high. Yeah.
Oh,
but would you agree with me that if you do a shot, you're better at sports? That's generally the way it works.
This is not something I would ever do because I'd be so worried that the shot, all of a sudden, I'd be sloppy.
Where you got to know what you can handle, right?
Yeah.
But I do remember high school basketball where I'd be running up and down the corner. I'm like, this guy is super high. What I'm covering right now. Did you guys ever run into that?
No, I did not.
Sticky
But
icky.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it does happen.
Yeah, that was anyway.
Here's the other thing though about some of the street drugs. Like if you take a shot of, Hennessy is what Marshawn Lynch would say or something like that. You can expect the same consistency and quality every time.
Exactly.
Good luck. Now marijuana is way more regulated, back in our day, whatever. But also cocaine, first of all, not advocating for it at all. But who knows what you're getting?
Yeah,
Very
but
risky.
that was a thing. I mean, at least in public lore, that especially in the NBA, a lot of guys used to take coke before games. I don't know if it's true. I have no
Honestly,
idea.
Amphetamines.
We don't have any knowledge of this.
What about greenies?
I know. I'll speak for myself. Don't know about this stuff. But there was always this idea that also doesn't doing cocaine make you have to go to the bathroom?
What?
You're talking. Look,
I
my
heard
hidden talent is not being a cocaine user.
No. Cut it with laxatives.
But then there's the other, and not from experience, but you might not go to the bathroom for another 6 days too. You have no idea what's happening in there.
Either way, what a nightmare.
No, you don't do cocaine and have to run to the bathroom.
I've only heard these things. I don't know, but that would.
You only do cocaine and run for 300 yards.
You go to the bathroom because you can do
And
more
4
cocaine.
touchdowns,
That's why they keep running in the bathroom.
Oh, I thought it was diarrhea.
Oh no, you keep going to the bathroom.
Right, just to
Nobody's
keep going.
to the bathroom in that bathroom.
Right.
Freeloading.
There you go. Well, you learn something new every day. Thank you, Brandon Jacobs.
I just do pure Molly before I play pickup basketball. I'm not going to waste my time with cocaine.
Straight to the hard stuff. CeeLo, thank you. We've got a lot more to do. We mentioned it. M&P 500 comes your way next. Who's stock up and who's stock down after a big week?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining.
Well, there's a guy we all know goes by the name CeeLo. He's got a bag of talents more than you can ever show. He can wrap up presents like a pro, nice and tight, with ribbons and bows, making everything just right. Oh, CeeLo, man of many talents, from wrapping gifts to cooking feasts, his skills are quite gallant. Singing songs and making joy wherever he might go. A multi-talented hero, the one and only CeeLo. He's a wizard, whipping up
The M&P 500 on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Do this on Mondays, Fridays. We actually did one yesterday. M&P 500, stock up, stock down, just sort of taking the temperature of the entire sports landscape. Perloff, stock up for you is who this week?
It's not even close.
Yeah.
This guy has just dominated the entire Olympics, probably the biggest star. He didn't even win gold. But Turkish sharpshooter Yusuf Dikdic.
I know exactly who you're talking
It's
about.
a visual, and I apologize for the radio audience. This is this guy. I don't even know what the sport is. It's a shooting sport with a handgun, pistol. Yep. And everybody who competes has these crazy special glasses and everything. This dude's just walking up in his normal readers. Looks like he got him at CVS. Putting his left hand in his pocket, aiming with one hand, and firing. All these other people are doing all these scientific. They have glasses with these little special frames and this little flap on it. He's just walking up, looking at target, bang, and he's gone totally viral. Am I describing him right? And he's also 51. Looks like he just like kind of wandered out of the suburbs and is like, hey, let's do some shooting, and he got a silver. Awesome story.
It looks like he's on a movie set. It does not look like he's in the Olympics.
Yeah, kind of a little Dirty Harry feel. Hey. What's the Dirty Harry line? You got a problem, son? Or what does Dirty Harry say? Why am I messing up with this line?
Make my day?
Make my day, yes.
Is that what it is?
I just said, Dirty Harry said, you got a problem, son?
Do you feel lucky, punk?
Do you feel lucky, punk? Make my day is also a line. Go ahead, make my day.
He does look like that.
And he said, do you feel lucky, son?
Doesn't land with the same.
Yeah.
Listen, my MP 500 stock up. I mean, let's just say the obvious. I thought this is where you were going. No one has had a better week than Simone Biles. Nobody. I mean, she's done so much for herself.
She's already great, though. This guy came out of nowhere. He's a James Bond of the Olympics, but go ahead.
You're right. That's why I'm not choosing her, even though I think she's the obvious one.
Oh, okay.
I'm still going to my guy, Steven Nedorosik, the male gymnast on the pommel horse with those thick glasses, and he takes them off. He was the closer. He's a specialist, only does the pommel horse, and his big moment came, and he completely delivered, and men's gymnastics in the U.S. had been on a bit of a downswell, and they got the bronze. So it's not gold, and I know Pete Pilati says there's only winners and losers, but I do think the bronze was a big deal, and this guy has a look. He wears rec specs sometimes, too. He's done that, like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar look.
Wait,
very cool.
This segment's called M&P 500, stock up, stock down. You can't do Simone Biles. Her stock's already worth $300 a share.
It's like buying Apple.
Yeah. So I did a Turkish shooter, and you did a gymnast with thick glasses. Yeah, that's the spirit of it. All right, stock down.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Justin Herbert's in a boot. Geno Smith's out indefinitely. Can we talk about the major injury in the NFL, the big one?
Who?
My guy, Carolina Panthers backup quarterback Andy Dalton, out 4 weeks with a quad injury. What the heck does that mean? I saw this headline, and of course it's the NFL. Adam Schefter, it was like the #1 story on the internet. What is a quad injury? We got to we have a foot specialist on the show, Dr. Rock Positano, who had a live foot on earlier in the show.
A live foot was on our show.
I gotta text Andy and find out what's going on here. He's got a quad injury. He's out for 4 weeks, Maggie. This is serious business.
Oh, no. He probably pulled a muscle, I'm assuming, right? What's
I think so.
Injury? Anyway, ouch. That stinks for him.
I guess. I don't know. He's back up to Bryce Young.
They should play him more. We're all thinking it.
Not a lie.
We're all thinking it.
I think they should bring in the Turkish sharpshooter to play quarterback for the Carolina Panthers.
At least be the mascot. Okay, my stock down. The Seine River. Never talked about it more, never thought about it more. These poor triathletes are swimming through raw sewage in this river. What is going on over there? And did you see there was one of the triathletes, Perloff, just violently vomiting over and over again? He said it was because of the heat, and he's Canadian, so he's not training in weather this hot. So he wouldn't blame it all on the water, but I'm sure it didn't help. And then you had a female triathlon participant who got a mouthful of the water and was asked what it tastes like. She said, not Coke or Sprite. Disgusting water. Seine River, like 2 thumbs down, stock way down on this river that I think most people thought was kind of beautiful. You know, going to Paris, one of the big tourist things to do is you take a river cruise down the Seine.
You know, I think you're going too far criticizing the Seine. I mean, just don't swim in it. You're fine.
Well, again, I didn't know all this stuff was floating in it, because now I don't want to take a romantic river cruise down the Seine with all the bridges and stuff like that. Now I don't want to be anywhere near that river. Stock way down on that river.
I think you could still, as long as you're on a boat and you're not swimming. I mean, listen, we live in New York with the disgusting East River. I get on the ferry and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, no shot.
You're not.
You know, Paris has like a romanticism to it. That's not what New York's known for. Paris has a romanticism, you know, of people holding hands. EJ was just there with Andrea. It's, you know, this very, it's a joyful city.
Yeah.
To have like E. coli in the water kind of ruins the vibe. You got E. coli in the water in New York, everyone's like, yeah, that's squares.
No. But urban rivers are obviously gross. There's a lot of cities that have rivers run through them. Nobody's drinking that water. It's like part of the deal. They're more decorative. Nobody thought the Seine. Nobody was like, you don't see a lot of wildlife. Nobody sticks their fishing pole in the Seine to pull bass out of it in the middle of the city. This is known for what it was. Yeah, I mean. You were not swimming in the Seine before. Don't. Okay, if I gave you a trip to Paris tomorrow and said you can be on the Seine, of course you would do
If
this.
if you were like, you get a trip to Paris, but the only way you get the trip is if you swim in the Seine.
Well, what if I said
I'd say no.
But you take a cruise.
Not now, because you're eating on a lot of those cruises. And now I'm thinking about people going number 2 there. It's just gross.
No, get out of here.
I'm over it.
I famously, because I talked about it too much, went on a cruise on the Danube last summer.
Yeah.
Lovely. That river is as polluted as all get out.
That's why I'm more of a Nile person. I'm a Nile/Amazon.
Oh, you think the Nile is clean?
The Nile now is
You're an
number
Amazon
1.
person. First of all, you get carried away by a giant butterfly. You can't eat there.
Like you say, an anaconda. The Nile now is top ranked, is on my power rankings of rivers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seine is way down. Nile's way up. Amazon's way up. Yangtze, way up. Seine, down.
I'm not sure that you're going to enjoy your cruises in some of these places.
Obviously, the mighty Mississippi.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to go on a little houseboat on the Yangtze anytime soon, Meg.
You know what? Not anymore.
And I don't know if that's clean either.
Lots to do. Justin Herbert in a boot. But for how long? We've got details for you next. Maggie and Perloff.
Well, there's a guy we all know goes by the name CeeLo. He's got a bag of talents more than you can ever show. He can wrap up presents like a pro, nice and tight, with ribbons and bows, making everything just right. Oh, CeeLo, man of many talents, from wrapping gifts to cooking feasts, his skills are quite gallant. Singing songs and making joy wherever he might go. A multi-talented hero, the one and only CeeLo. In the kitchen he's a wizard, whipping up a storm. Cooking meals so tasty they'll keep you nice and warm. From breakfast to dinner, desserts that make you sigh. CeeLo's culinary magic, it'll take you to the sky. Oh, CeeLo, man of many talents, from wrapping gifts to cooking feasts, his skills are quite gallant. Singing songs and making joy wherever he might go. Our multi-talented hero, the one and only CeeLo.
Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Tough news. Justin Herbert in a walking boot after injuring his plantar fasciitis. So not like chronic plantar fasciitis, but there's an injury there. It's acute. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You know, whether or not Justin Herbert is going to be ready for week one, Perloff, they're telling us that he will be ready, or whether this impacts him the rest of the season, all remains to be seen. I think the most important conversation you can have around Justin Herbert right now are the expectations that come along with him being this, we know he's a good quarterback and has the great tools, getting paid the amount he's getting paid with one of the highest contracts in the NFL, and now pairing him with a proven head coach in Jim Harbaugh. I don't see why the expectations would be anything less than playoffs for sure and winning playoff games right away.
What do you mean winning playoff games? Like, so are you talking about cadetting for a Super Bowl, or are we just talking about like the Texans beat the Browns in week one and got killed by the Ravens? Like, they've already gotten to playoff games. Like,
and what happened?
It
was an all-time collapse failure.
I'm just saying they're about the same team that they've been. I think I don't expect this massive leap with Jim Harbaugh, because I think Jim Harbaugh is going to need. I think he makes a playoffs borderline this year, and then next year things are really going to get going.
I just don't understand why we would expect that Jim Harbaugh, somebody who is known, and for San Francisco specifically, came out of the gate absolutely firing. A 13-3 season out of the gate with a quarterback that was not even close to the talent of Justin Herbert on one leg or two legs. And now we're going to say, well, he needs some time, and oh my gosh, the Chiefs are in the division. It's like, why are we changing the expectation? Give me another tier 1/tier 1.5 quarterback with a coach that's going to the Hall of Fame likely because of what he's done through his career. Give me another guy, another a situation where we wouldn't have big expectations on that combination.
I mean, honestly, nobody thinks the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl, and they have a almost Hall of Fame level quarterback and a Super Bowl winning coach.
I think people believe that Herbert's a way more talented quarterback than Dak Prescott.
Well, yeah, but Dak's going to get paid more than him. So,
but I'm just saying the talent with Herbert is so tantalizing.
Yeah. But I don't think there's a night and day difference between Herbert and Dak expectation wise. But I think the reason people are down on the Chargers is because they look at that team and be like, well, first of all, they're always hurt. Like, they're good, but they don't look like a Super Bowl team yet. They have no receivers at all for them. They have a great offensive line. They have a hot and cold defense. Yeah, they have Derwin James and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, but those guys have never put it together and been on the field. So we have a large sample size of that. So I think that people think that they are where they've been, like borderline playoff team. Maybe 16th or 17th in Super Bowl odds. And if that's where they are, then I think people are saying, okay, show us something and let's build something, not let's get to the Super Bowl right now. Nobody's going to rip Jim Harbaugh if he doesn't get to the Super Bowl. And even you won't. There's just no way. That's just not fair.
It's about expecting something, though, you know?
Right. Everyone expects a wild card run.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, the urgency should be there right now, and it should be there for Herbert. Again, this injury aside, it should be there for Herbert. It's like you wasted, not him, but the rookie contract was wasted, right? You're not going back to a point where he's not going to get paid anything less than $55 million per year. Now he's super expensive, so that window is gone. And yet he's done nothing. He has an all-time playoff collapse on his resume, whether it's his fault or not. And it's time to get going here and make good on that elite status and really show the league what you're capable of, because I know we're on in Eugene. I know we're on in Portland. Huge Justin Herbert territory. Even you guys know you're expecting that in the NFL he was going to be solid top 5 quarterback in this league. No discussion. And I think there's wiggle room right now.
Yeah, people just don't judge Justin Herbert like that. I'm not saying,
and I don't know why.
I'm not getting to should or not should. It's just a fact. He's in a different category. I'm not sure why either. It's just like it exists with Lamar Jackson now. 2 MVPs, favorites in the playoffs last year, blew it. It exists with Dak Prescott. 10-point favorite in a playoff game, blows it. Like Justin Herbert, I guess and I know he lost that game to the Jags, but even that, everyone blamed Brandon Staley. There's always excuses. Let me just do a quick experiment here.
Okay.
So I have DraftKings up with the Super Bowl odds. The Chargers are 17th. And you're saying that they should expect to make a run in Super Bowl odds. Do you think they should have higher expectations than these teams who are ahead of them? The Cleveland Browns.
About the same.
The Chicago Bears.
I don't think the Bears' expectation should be anywhere near the Chargers, right?
Okay, and then the Falcons are higher than them. The Rams are higher than them. You notice one trend here. All the NFC teams have better Super Bowl odds because people are aware of the fact that the Chargers play in the AFC West and in the AFC. Like, how do you expect them, without Jim Harbaugh, to have time to build his roster to get out of this ridiculous conference?
Then don't even play the games. If you're that intimidated by the Kansas City Chiefs, then take your ball and go home and don't even try to you can go throw for throw. That's the one thing. Mahomes is the better quarterback, obviously, but Justin Herbert is no slouch, and he's played well, actually, against the Chiefs. You should be able to go throw for throw with Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen goes throw for throw. You should be able to do that even if you're not better than Patrick Mahomes. Why, if everyone's going to sit around the AFC West and be super intimidated by the Chiefs, then you've already lost. And what the Chargers have going for them is they actually do have the quarterback power to compete. And you're going to have those teams we don't think are as good, the Raiders and the Broncos. Broncos clearly in a rebuild. Raiders is just a little bit weird. It should be the haves and the have-nots in the AFC West, and the Chargers should be one of the haves.
Why?
Because they have Herbert and Harbaugh together.
Yes, so what? I mean,
What do you mean, so what? People would kill to have a quarterback that good and a coach that accomplished.
But look at the rest of that roster. I mean, they're good. They just do not look like a Super Bowl roster.
See, to me, the wide receiver core and not having Mike Williams or Keenan Allen there anymore, to me, look at the trend of where things are going with teams who actually have elite quarterbacks. Kansas City would rather have more guys than elite guys. Buffalo's doing that this year. More guys.
Buffalo's won what with that philosophy?
Not anything, but you see the trend. And it's also when you start paying your quarterbacks all this money, right? So I don't think it's like a roster flaw necessarily of the Chargers. I think it's a strategy. I think this is what they're doing. This is the way they're going with it. Because you're right, they could have had Malik Neighbors, and instead they went with Joe Alt. And I thought that was smart. That's the other part. You had a great offensive line. This is good. These are all the things good teams have.
You could argue it's smart. There is a money aspect here. You're going to have to pay Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt at the same time. And now receivers are so expensive. I'm actually flipping around on receivers.
Right, so it's not a bad thing that they don't have an all-star cast of receivers.
It would have been nice to have Malik Neighbors on a rookie deal for 5 years with Justin Herbert.
Okay, but now look at what CeeDee Lamb's showing you. You do 3 years and you want to get paid. You don't even get the whole rookie deal before guys are upset. I got Jamar Chase holding in.
Regardless, I think I personally might have gone Malik Neighbors there. I think Harbaugh is really going to grind it out here on the road. I think he's going to run. To me, it is a little weird that he has Justin Herbert and is saying all he talks about is how he wants to run the ball.
It's got to be a head fake because I know what he did in Michigan. I know that
And
even
San
San Francisco was, he had a running quarterback though. Like he had Alex Smith, who was not a running quarterback. And then Colin Kaepernick was like, this was a perfect combination. Justin Herbert, is he going to be a running quarterback like that? No, you would be crazy not to utilize his arm. He's got one of the best arm talent, like elite in the whole NFL.
I'd be surprised. I'll bet you they're top 10 in run, bottom 50. I bet the second half of the league in pass attempts.
So here's what's weird about that too. So you're telling me you have Justin Herbert, who's a top tier quarterback.
Great quarterback.
Great tools. And that you're going to do Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, that's who your offense is going to run through?
What's wrong with Gus the Bus? If Baltimore had given him the ball against Kansas City, they might be Super Bowl champions.
That's fine, but that's the plan. Like, you have Justin Herbert, the Ferrari. Yeah. And instead, we're going to go with the Gus Bus and J.K. Dobbins coming off a major injury.
Yes.
That doesn't sound right. That sounds weird.
There are a lot of great teams that have great quarterbacks and run the ball. I mean, this is... that's,
you need a run game.
Yeah,
I agree with you, but
it's not just need a run game. Like certain teams are going to emphasize run, certain teams are not. Obviously, the Ravens are a gigantic run team who have a 2-time MVP quarterback, and man, all they want to do is run. They just do. Even they brought in Todd Monken to throw a lot of passes, and they still just ran it all the time. So I think there are a lot of and they have Lamar Jackson. You could tell John Harbaugh does not want to call a lot of pass plays.
I know, but see, that's the weird thing because he only wanted to coach Herbert, right? We do that. He only wanted to coach Herbert because a quarterback knows a quarterback and all that. So you're going to get there so he can hand the ball off 35 times. It just feels. I get you want a balance. Every team wants a balance. You need a run game, especially when the weather gets bad. You're on the playoffs, on the road. You want to be able to run the ball.
I think this is
not utilize Herbert. Like
I don't know. I feel like this is a good for. I kind of disagree in general. Like yes, so you run the ball and you emphasize it. When you do get those opportunities to pass it, you're setting up like run. Boom! You set up the 50-yard pass, the big play. This is like the old formula of the NFL. You use the run to set up big pass plays. Now everyone uses the pass to set up run plays. This is kind of old school. And who's old school? Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I think, and you said to me earlier in the show, it's not the 90s. I think Jim Harbaugh's head is stuck there. I think he wears the baggy khakis. Like, that dude is the 90s. He's going to be like the 90s Cowboys. Handoff.
Yeah, but that's not Emmitt Smith back there.
Play action. Boom. It doesn't matter who the running backs are. Their line is going to grind people, and they're going to have Edwards. It's going to be Justin Herbert's going to see a lot of 2nd and 4. There's going to be a lot of play action, big plays. This fits it well. They don't want him dropping back. Like if he's throwing 48 passes in a game, Jim Harbaugh is going to be miserable.
Okay, maybe not 48 passes. That obviously means you're behind by quite a bit. Right. But it's like, it reminds me of Shane Steichen of the Colts. He said, yeah, of course Anthony Richardson's going to run. It's like asking Steph Curry not to shoot threes. Like you have Justin Herbert, you're going to ask him to be the game manager back there and hand the ball off. Seems like a waste of a guy who's got otherworldly arm talent at 26 years old.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a team who does it right. Like the Niners, what do you think of them? They're a run team, right?
Yeah.
But they're still one of the leading passing teams in the league too because their run sets up the pass so well. This is all good for Justin Herbert. Like, yeah, he'd be thrilled. If you're Justin Herbert, you're really happy. If the run is working, then life's going to be easier for you. You're going to win more games. You're going to be more efficient. I like the philosophy. You realize there's a difference
between Herbert and Purdy, though, right?
Not really, in the sense that, like, I do think, like, a good run game will help Justin Herbert just like it helps Brock Purdy. I think whatever Brock Purdy has going in San Francisco, I think Herbert could use more of that. Like, he doesn't want to drop back and throw the ball a million times. That's not good.
You mentioned it before, not to be callous about this kind of thing. We had Dr. Rock Positano, no pun intended, Dr. Rock Positano on the show earlier, world-renowned foot specialist and doctor, actually had a live foot on our show, a live barefoot. It's out on social media now. If you want to see Dr. Rock's assistant's foot, as he was describing what's going on with Justin Herbert. But the craziest part about that, the whole thing, you talked about fantasy. And again, I'm not trying to be callous about this whole thing, but you said, Dr. Rock, we have to know, should we be drafting Justin Herbert on our fantasy team? The way that you're bringing it up, you should not be drafting him at all anyway, because if you don't think this offense is going to run through Herbert, it's going to run through the run game, then he's going to be quite disappointing for you. This is not going to be air it out offense.
Well, he might get a lot of touchdowns, though. He just won't have as many passing yards. I mean, think about it. We all know the game with who's the fantasy god, Anthony Richardson. Justin Herbert is not going to. I don't think Justin Herbert's run numbers are that impactful.
No.
Passing yards are not that big a deal. It's touchdowns. I think he could have
at the goal line. Why would Jim Harbaugh be throwing at the goal line?
Well, I think he's going to get a lot of big touchdowns because it's going to be wide open because of play action. I think he's going to make some big plays here. He doesn't really have the receivers for him, but I don't think I was taking Justin Herbert anyway. I never take a pass only quarterback. Not because your quarterback and Lamar Jackson and all these guys have ruined fantasy football because you need that running out of a quarterback. Yeah. I don't think he's going to fall that much. Anyway, what I think the big disagreement here, I think Justin Herbert could be better in what we're describing. Like, this is going to help Justin Herbert. This is good. Dropping back a million times is not going to help him. Handing the ball off a lot is going to be very, very good business for Justin Herbert.
And that might be fine. I might disagree with it, but that might be fine. I think our bigger disagreement is what's the expectation for Harbaugh and Herbert in year one? And mine is high and yours is low. 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in on this. Also, if you would like to talk about Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Chargers outlook.
There's a fun poll up about Justin Herbert's expectations
from
us, from Maggie and Perloff.
At Maggie and Perloff.
Yes. What are fair expectations for Justin Herbert this season? No playoffs, 31%. Make playoffs, no wins, 25%. Lead LA to one playoff win, 41%. Lead LA to Super Bowl, 1%. That 1%?
Me.
Maggie Gray.
I voted and with my burner.
Okay. Let's be fair. You said if they can win some playoff games, that's good.
Be a factor. We all know what that means. Be a factor. Yeah. Be strike fear and challenge the Chiefs for the division. Come on.
Come on.
There's a read on the Chiefs that maybe they've peaked. Have we thought about that?
They're a team with a win total of 8.5 games, and you want them to challenge the Chiefs.
Yes. This is why you bring Harbaugh in. Brandon Staley was not challenging.
You're setting too high a bar that he is not necessarily going to be able to meet. They go 10-7 and everything looks good, then you should be thrilled as a Chargers fan.
855-212-4227. There you go. Got that going on for you. Can I tell you the oddest moment from last night's Hall of Fame game? This has nothing to do with the play on the field, the new kickoff rule, any of the interviews with any of the Hall of Famers. I will bring you the weirdest moment from last night, and there's no second. This is first place, second place, and third place. It's gold, silver, and bronze.
Okay.
Tell you about it next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Annual tradition in the Perloff household. Get really excited for the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Then about 9 plays in and be like, it's kind of lame. But at least
awesome for your boy Case Keenum last night. He looked very overqualified. It's like a PhD in a 101 class.
It's weird. Like everybody, Davis Mills, Tyson Badgett, everyone was slinging it. Brett Rippon looked like Mark Rippon combined with Joe Montana. Anyway, you promised something that was the strangest thing of the night. And kind of a weird night. I'm curious to hear what this is.
So many different things, but this one took the cake. The weirdest thing from the Hall of Fame game. Nothing to do with the game. Nothing to do with the weather, although that was bizarre because the game got called off. At one point, Lisa Salters is doing a report about Tank Dell, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. Tank Dell, great. Unfortunately, was wrong place, wrong time at a pool party in Florida where a shooting happened. Okay, so he's at a pool party. They hear shots. He starts running, as you would, right? Tells Lisa Salters, I didn't even realize I had been shot in the thigh. Mm-hmm. How is that possible? How do you not realize you've been shot in the thigh? I'm not even trying to make light of this. This is a very serious problem in our country. I just don't understand. That has to be the most painful thing that could happen.
Well, I kind of
How
get
do you
it.
not know?
Adrenaline,
yeah.
To be shot.
I don't know. He's trying to run and get out, get away, and just the
I feel like that happens in the movies all the time, where a guy gets away, then he looks down at his shirt and it's like, wait, what is that?
You thought that was reality? Like, that's why it's in a movie, not in real life.
I don't know. It didn't shock me.
I was like, did I hear that right? I had to rewind it. Shot in the thigh. Bullet goes clean through. Didn't even notice.
Can't speak from experience.
Well, how
Thank
bad
God,
was he
knock
shot,
on
right?
wood.
Because didn't he go to practice like 2 days later?
No, I think it was like a month, but yeah. Or 2 weeks, I think they said. A couple
Right. So wait, did it graze him or did it sink into his thigh?
No, I think it went through.
Oh, yeah. That's really...
Luckily didn't hit a bone or whatever. But
Anyway, I don't know why. That happens in the movies a lot, though. Where the guy's like, we made it. Then he looks down at his shirt, and it's like the saddest thing ever. Because I'm like, that dude thought he was out.
Yeah, you want to know what else happens in movies? There's a bus that's going to explode if it goes under 50 miles an hour. I mean, lots of weird things happen in movies that don't happen.
Listen.
There's a bomb on that
I'm not
bus.
saying it's happened to me, but that could happen.
Yeah, the plot of Speed.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves. I don't know why I picked that one out of a hat, but I'm just saying.
It's a good one to pick.
Thank you. Lots of things happen in movies. Tom Cruise happens in movies, and that wouldn't happen in real life.
Speaking of, I'm sorry. Have you read about what Tom Cruise is doing?
No, what's he doing?
Tom Cruise is at the end of this Olympics and this is talking about what happens in movies, taking the Olympic flame and rappelling down the big stadium in France with the flame and then getting in a plane. And then they already shot it, apparently. He is skydiving out of said plane and landing the torch at a special holster on the Hollywood sign to announce a handoff from Paris. So you say this stuff happens in movies. It happens in real life. Tom Cruise, for example, that dude is jumping out of airplanes for his movies.
That's not made up. That's actually happening.
Somebody fact check it.
Wait.
Wow.
I got this off the only reliable source on the
Mission
internet.
Impossible.
TMZ.
Honestly, I believe TMZ.
Yeah, it was
a
at TMZ. I read all about it. Tom Cruise is doing this. Movies are real, Maggie.
So here's a question. If he's jumping out of a plane with the Olympic flame, the flame can't stay lit as you're free falling.
That kind of flame, I think they have like sort of wind-resistant flames. I don't know. They already shot it, apparently. They already filmed the...
CGI, probably.
Yeah,
it's like everything else in this world.
Yeah,
EJ,
that's a good question.
You know about the story? Oh,
famous for Tom Cruise is famous for doing these kind of stunts. I mean, the stuff that we've seen in the recent Mission Impossible movies, he may have a wire attached to him, but he's jumping off motorcycles off of cliffs. He's jumping out of planes. Like in this late part of his life, he's become this weird like thrill seeker. So I have no doubts that this is real. I don't think there will be any like CGI. Like this is Tom Cruise's new thing now. I don't know why he's worth so much money. You think the risk that's involved? But I saw a documentary where he was explaining one of the big stunts he did in the last Mission Impossible movie, and they went through it, and then he did it once, and he's like, you know what? Let's do it a lot more times. I want to make sure I get this right. And he's just jumping right off a cliff off of a motorcycle. I mean, he is a wild boy. I put it that way.
I can't wait. Now I've never tuned into a closing ceremonies, but I may now.
So I think circling back to the point, you say what happens in movies isn't real. I mean, Tom Cruise is basically living Mission Impossible as we speak.
Ethan Hawke in real life.
This is a good thing.
Ethan Hawke?
No, not Ethan
Hunt.
Hunt, thank you. Ethan Hawke's the actor.
There is an actual Ethan Hawke living his own life.
Yes, correct. Same initials, different last name. Thank you for correcting me on that.
CeeLo has headlines for us. What's up, C?
Oh, I'm sorry. EJ, what do you want to say there? Go ahead.
No, just real quickly, I just saw that I don't think he's going to have the flame. I believe he's carrying the official flag.
Oh, okay, a flag.
That's what it says. That's what it says
say,
on TMZ.
There's no way that the flame would be still lit as you're free falling from 15,000 feet. No way.
Rappelling down, landing on the stadium field and carrying the official Olympic flag. And the Hollywood sign thing was filmed back in March, mid-March. Nobody got him in the air, but there are pictures of him standing and climbing the Hollywood sign.
So actually, you could keep the flame lit. You know how you have those automatic lighters? If you keep your hand on the trigger that's fueling that flame, you might be able to keep it lit.
Sure, you could do that while rappelling down.
No, flying through midair. There's a lot of wind. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's not like blowing out a candle. You can make...
real missed opportunity.
Do you guys do that? Sorry, I'm totally sorry. Do you guys still do the blowing out the candles in the post-COVID era where you have a cake that's delivered and there's a bunch of candles on it and the birthday person blows them out? That feels way grosser to me these days.
Well, no doubt. But it's always gross when it's kids because, and we, just did this for my kid.
Yeah.
5th birthday party.
Yeah.
He blew out all the candles. It was cupcakes, actually. Got spit over all of them, and we served them.
Yeah. Did you think about it at all?
I mean, it's my kid, so the spin, but I don't eat birthday cakes at other people's
It
kids'
is what
birthdays.
it is.
No shot.
You want that dessert, you run the risk of those germs.
Yeah, that's
Take
like
it or leave it.
As long as it's not served on the Seine River riverboat, Maggie, it's fine with it.
Yeah, the Sen I'm totally down on. They're bottom of my power rankings of world rivers. But we could all acknowledge this. Not when they get to be like Perloff's daughter's age is like 13 and 12. Now they're more like grown up. But is there anything grosser than other people's young kids? Other people's. It's so gross.
Walking petri dish.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't get grossed out by germs and things. I'm not a big germaphobe. You're not, are you?
No, but you're just talking about who blows out candles in a post-COVID world.
Yeah, but babies are little germs, but they're still cute. Everybody loves to grab. Like a little kid walks in, you don't want to grab him and throw him around and be like, ah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to eat them after that or eat my hands.
You're not going to lick their hands.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Sometimes my kid will come and like put his hands like near my mouth, and I'm like, oh, God.
Oh my God, that's terrible, Maggie.
Who knows what's on them?
Honestly, you are so immune to every germ that's out there right now because you have a kid. That's the point of being a parent. You get sick a couple times and you're ready for whatever.
I know.
Your body's used to it.
Honestly, Aaron Rodgers is really missing out. He wants to be immunized to have a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. Because you're going to get sick.
Good point.
Yeah. Especially a boy. I mean, boys are crazy because they put their hands God knows where.
Gross.
And
I have
down
girls
their pants now. I'm like, you got to keep the hands out, bud.
Up the nose, in the mouth, down the pants.
I feel bad for you. Having girls was delightful when they're young.
That's why
when they're young, that's the key. Then they flip. Right?
My kid is on the couch like Al Bundy style, hand down the pants, watching TV. I'm like, you're 5. When did you become 50?
Well, which is better? CeeLo, do you have kids?
I have 2 boys, yeah.
Yeah, so young boys are notoriously difficult because
Crazy.
they're maniacs.
Yes.
But I have a 13-year-old girl who told me I'm going out with my friend's dad yesterday. And I go, where are you going? She goes, I'm going out with my friends.
Yeah, none of your business.
But Lucy is great. She is the
She's
coolest
amazing
person we
kid.
know.
Yeah.
But you have a 13-year-old girl now.
The communication is sort of getting a little thinner.
I told you she was coming to you with stuff, and I'm like, at least she's still talking to you about this stuff, and it was freaking you out a little bit, but at least she was coming to you with it. The moment you have to start freaking out is when she stops talking to you.
Yeah.
You're entering that period now.
And I've never felt older in my life. I go, all right, honey, just don't do drugs. Now I just say it like goodbye. It's like part of my goodbye. I don't even think about it. I sound like Nancy Reagan. It's the most bizarre thing.
That's hilarious. Also, kids will like do the opposite of what
I
their
know,
parents
like,
say. You should be like, all right, do drugs.
Yeah, it's the least useful statement of all. Not that Lucy has any interest in that at all. I'm sort of joking, not joking. When I say, but then this parent thing, it's like I can't help it. It's a compulsion. I yell at don't do drugs. What has happened to me?
I get it.
But you have a 5-year-old. You can't imagine saying that right now, right? It's not even on. With young kids, I never thought this moment would come. I never thought there'd be boys. It's hard to
And your
adjust.
daughter is gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, how old are your kids, CeeLo?
8 and 5.
Can you picture them
Don't do
like
drugs.
driving? They're going to drive.
No,
These little animals that we have are going to drive. Lucas is going to be behind the wheel of a Jeep before
Everyone,
you know it.
watch out. Get off the roads the day that
It's true.
Lucas turned 16. I'm just kidding.
Everybody watch out.
Honestly, I live in New Jersey. What's the difference? He could be behind the wheel right now. He'd be better than half the drivers
That's a
there.
fair point.
No one knows how to turn left in that freaking state.
I learned to drive at 16, and I'll tell you right now, I was an absolute menace on the streets of Lower Merion, Pennsylvania. I hit more cars. I was like the bumper cars at Coney Island. I'm not a great driver now. I was terrible then.
Were you driving manual? Were you driving stick shift back then?
Manual. Stick shift. I tried my friend's stick shift, and I just rode his car, not other cars. I had a terrible accident. Actually, I hit a parked car and ran from the scene out of pure ignorance.
Oh, no.
I panicked. I was very young, and I drove home 5 minutes away to my parents' house, and I go, Mom, Dad, they were napping. I go, Mom, Dad, I think I just hit a car. And they're like, well, was it like a big hit? I was like, no, it wasn't mine. I totaled a car. The police found me in a half hour.
No. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, but then I had driven back because like I finally figured out I didn't know what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, right. No, the fight or flight, but thankfully no one was hurt, especially you.
Yeah, I can't believe I just told that story. That and when I stole the hat from Charles Barkley are my two avoiding the police things.
You stole a hat from Charles Barkley? I didn't know that story. Out of his locker?
Oh boy. Let's move on. CeeLo, headlines.
Right, let's move on.
Does he know about this? He called us his favorite new radio show.
Let's go on to the headlines today. It was out of his car.
Oh my my gosh. When he was playing for the Sixers?
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of hat was it?
Ironically, and I have told this whole story to Charles Barkley, it was a Just Say No to Drugs hat that the NBA used to hand out in the 80s. I saw his convertible.
Oh.
And it was clearly his. It had a bunch of gear, and there were a bunch of hats in the back seat. And I took
Vanity
one.
plate was round mound rebound.
I can't believe this is the worst thing I've ever done. I took one of his hats. I feel awful about it. I felt awful for many, many years about this.
What did he say when you told him?
He did not care at all.
See, did that make you feel better? I mean, it's still not right to steal, but...
Yeah, no, I feel terrible. I've told that story to you. You've never heard the Just Say No to Drugs hat stealing?
What was the compulsion to, like, what about that hat?
I mean, to say he's my favorite player at the time, like, I worshipped every time he would shove someone out of the way and dunk the ball. I was like, this is the greatest basketball player ever. He was my hero, so I wanted memorabilia.
All right, so
it's not because I wanted the hat.
Okay, it was less about the hat.
I wasn't. If it was just, no, I wanted something from Charles
Could have been
Barkley.
anything in there.
And he wasn't there. I would have asked him for it. I was a kid.
Like, if one of his 8 irons was sitting there, you would have taken the 8 iron, right?
Just anything.
That's what I mean.
That was too valuable. I would not have taken an 8 iron.
Yeah, a hat. I actually get it. It's not right. No one should steal. But I understand the compulsion. Like, you see your favorite superstar's convertible and there's something there and just sort of grab it.
No, it's super creepy. It's such an invasion of privacy. It's terrible.
Well, it's not, yes, it's not right, but I still understand the compulsion.
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I feel awful about it. If I could I lost the hat. Otherwise, I would have found a way to give it back. I'm a guilty person. I still feel bad. In fact, I might even send him a hat.
You should.
I'm going to buy 2. One for my daughter, Just Say No to Drugs hat.
She'll wear it ironically. Like how everyone at a fish show has a Don't Say No to Drugs shirt on. Like,
do they really?
That's how you know that people are really rolling their faces up.
So I should beware if my 15-year-old comes home with a Just Say No to Drugs t-shirt.
It's probably a dealer. I'm just kidding. All right, let's get to some headlines.
Yeah.
True confessions here, Maggie and Pearl. I like it.
Yes. Aaron Rodgers in the headlines again. Here he is with Kay Adams on Up and Adams, addressing his Davante Adams commentary from last month's Celebrity Golf Tournament in Lake Tahoe, which, of course, was all the rage, setting off the rampant trade speculation after he said he couldn't wait to play with Adams again. So Rodgers walking that back just a bit now.
I love Davante. I'd love to play with Davante again. It might be in the 2028 Olympics if they let some of the old guys go out and play.
Presumably, I guess, in flag football. So he's that. And then he also, when he met the media at Jets camp earlier this week, they asked him about it. And he said that basically the reporter who was following him that day on the golf course was a bit irritating. And he was just trying to get rid of him. And he said, the guys in your ear asking the same question over and over again. I was just trying to give him something, get rid of him. But I think I was talking about golf. So it's golf, it's flag football, it's the reporter was irritating. And I didn't really mean what I said, right? That's always the way it goes.
Likely story.
Exactly.
Where are we with flag football in the Olympics in 2028?
I don't know. That's why I assumed he said they let the old guys play.
It's in L.A., right? What do you mean, where are we? It's happening.
It is
definitely
100% happening.
Yeah, Joe Burrow wants to do it with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, too. That'd be sick. That's a great question. Do they do a retired player or do they do a current player?
Oh, boy. That's that's going to be controversial. Summer games during training camp, NFL players trying to play flag football in the Olympics, and one of them, tears an Achilles or an ACL non-contact down for the year.
It's got to be retired players, and then they would still dominate, right?
So that's interesting. This one feels a little skewed to the U.S.
Well, we would have thought 3-on-3 hoops was skewed to the U.S., and that hasn't gone so well, right?
At least the rest of the world plays basketball.
Yeah.
Nobody else plays football, American football, let alone 5-on-5 flag, 11-on-11. I don't even know what it's going to be with 7-on-7. Anyway.
By the way, I don't think we're the champions.
It's like a cheap gold. This is what it feels like. We're going for a cheap medal.
I don't think we are not the champions in this sport, by the way.
There's a world flag football championship.
Actually, we won it recently, but we've lost it before.
Yeah, wait till we send Aaron Rodgers. It might change.
And Davante Adams. Running it back together.
Speaking is it 7-on-7?
I think it's 11-on-11.
Wow, full
but
field flag football.
It's touch football. I guess flag football.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're right though, CeeLo. You just ruined it. I need to see like Tyreek Hill and the fastest guys out there. But what if they tear an ACL?
I'm just thinking of the Summer Olympics is happening now when training camp's happening. So I don't quite understand how that would work unless the dates are going to be different for the 2028 games, maybe? I don't know.
Buzzkill.
Don't know. Speaking of the summer games, Steve Kerr with the media today talking about the USA matchup with Puerto Rico, which comes up tomorrow, final pool play game. And he basically ran down all of the standings and the seedings and all that and said that we want the number one seed. So not only are we trying to win the game, we need to win by the largest margin possible because they want that one seed, which will give you the better matchup in the quarterfinals. We'll see how they fare. Olympic golf, who cares about the round 2 scores today? But this was interesting from Scotty Scheffler yesterday. Reporter from The Athletic chatting with him, asked him about the Olympic experience and being among the iconic athletes of his era and if he thinks about legacy and his place in sports. Now, we know Scheffler's not always the most charismatic, but this one I think took it to another level. He shrugged, said, no, not really, and then explained, quote, ultimately will be forgotten. So a very dark...
He'll be forgotten.
Meaning humans.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's just like a nihilist.
Once we die, no one cares.
We're all just specks of dust on the spinning marble.
Quite the buzzkill answer there.
He's very much about his faith. Is he saying in a more spiritual sense?
Maybe. This was the quote that I saw from this guy yesterday who then tagged it with, okay then. There's really no follow-up to that, is there?
That's a great sports answer. For quarterbacks getting a tough question, yeah, ultimately we're dust in the wind is a great answer.
Came across kind of dark, but yeah, maybe there was a positive meaning to it.
On this rock hurtling through her.
I will say that whoever wins gold in golf will be forgotten. I do not think golf has a weekly international competition for 51 weeks a year. What the heck do they need the Olympics for? They have to have 4 majors.
I agree.
Nobody
and the
knows
format is no different. They're
who won
playing
it
a
last time. I have no idea.
Xander Schauffele, who's currently tied
Did he
for the
really?
lead again. He did, yeah.
Yeah, no one was like, well, Xander Schauffele until this year was like, well, he hasn't won a major, but he had an Olympic gold. Nobody said that.
I
mean, what sport would you like to have instead of golf?
Tennis and golf, bye-bye.
I mean, you can do golf, but I mean, I just figure they could do something maybe different with the format. It's a stroke play. Like
it's a
if you go to
tournament.
PGAtour.com right now and go to their leaderboard, like to Perloff's point, it looks like, yay, it's the Farmers Insurance Open in January. Like, here's the list of guys. They always show their country icons anyway next to them, and it's all the guys you know. Yeah, there's a few that are missing, but it's a 4-round stroke play event.
Well, you say what other sport? For many years, for most of our lives, there's been no golf or tennis.
No, I'm just saying if they wanted to add sports, like what would you rather have there?
I
More
like
breakdancing?
I like the unusual sports. I really do. I would do sports that do not have an international pedestal to show themselves. Yeah, of course.
Perloff just realized today there's something called trampoline.
I still think you're making it up. I need to see video.
It's
like, what, do
real.
they just go outside and play on a trampoline? Like, what's the competition?
You have to do these routines. It's like gymnastics, and they're really jumping very high, and they have to land in a little box.
Right.
That sounds terrifying.
It's like gymnastics or without the pool, the diving. Like I saw a video of synchronized diving. I want to say it was maybe a Chinese or Japan duo, and if you looked at the first shot, they were so synchronized from the side that you would have thought it was one person. And then they showed the alternate view, and you're like, oh, it's actually 2 of them at the same time.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm warning you in advance, Maggie and CeeLo and all the listeners. I am super into breaking, and I'm going on vacation next week. When I get back, it's next weekend in the center of Paris. They're going to be breaking. That's all I'm going to want to talk about.
Breaking
Popping,
is that
locking, spinning.
cool for breakdancing?
Breaking
I
is the coolest Olympic sport of my lifetime.
The question is, how much is this going to rub off on you to the point where are we going to have to put the cardboard down for Perloff in the hallway?
Then get Dr. Rock Positano on.
Just on
because
speed dial.
I'll be injured immediately. I mean,
You'll
are a
be
lot
the
of people
live
going to
foot
get?
we're looking at.
Are
Yeah.
people in danger at home trying to emulate these moves?
Oh, I can't wait for those videos to start popping up.
What could go
People
wrong?
watching the Olympics and trying to do it themselves and just breaking every bone of their body.
Trampoline sounds devastatingly dangerous too.
Sounds awesome.
But we also know trampolines are super dangerous.
Yeah, the worst one is the diving. You mentioned the diving when their head misses the concrete by 2 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's more dangerous? Diving off a platform or Lucas driving in New Jersey 11 years from now?
I'll tell you what, Lucas on a trampoline, look out. Although now kids these days, not like when we were kids where you just had the trampoline and good luck to you. Now it's got sides on it. Yes,
We have one.
Yeah, we have one too.
And it's got the netting and the padding. So outside of landing on your neck, you're not going to like fall off of it onto the ground or hit the metal posts or anything like that.
Every time I drive by one of those, I just laugh. I'm like, oh, someone's breaking an arm at some point on those.
Well, only a matter of time.
So far, so good.
Yeah,
but maybe the Olympics
here.
are in the future.
Yeah, right. CeeLo, thanks.
All
We
right.
got to take a quick break. Okay, coming up. Oh, this is something that really got in Perloff's craw. Stuck in your craw? We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. All right, we don't have a ton of time till the end of the show, but plenty of time. Perloff, you got to get this off your chest because I know you've been thinking about it all week. We've been talking about it offline, and I think you should get an opportunity to explain to the audience what has got you so upset over the last couple days.
Oh, Bill Belichick got another job, Maggie?
Another media job.
So he just signed with Underdog Sports. What are we doing here with Bill Belichick? Why is he all of a sudden getting paid to talk into a mic when he refused to for 20 years? This is hypocrisy at the highest level. I will not stand for it. I am going to watch it. I'm just not going to enjoy it.
Oh, wow. Way to show your displeasure. So you're going to watch every bit of content that he puts out. You're just going to do it reluctantly?
Yeah. Well, first of all, in reality, it's going to be this show on Underdog Fantasy is going to be more tape. It's going to be garbage because he wants to coach next year. He's not going to say a thing that is critical. And if he does criticize a coach, what does that mean? You know, he's the most Machiavellian, detail-oriented person. That means he wants that person's job. We're going to be seeing theater at best. We're not going to get real analysis out of Bill Belichick. I know that sounds mean, but he can't be honest with you because he desperately wants a job next year.
Interesting, though. Usually guys who still want jobs, though, they're just super nice about everyone.
Yeah, unless they want that person's job.
I guess so.
Well, Belichick, that's a Belichick specific. If he if he rips Brian Daboll, what do you think that means?
That he's a shark circling in on the New York Giants? I mean, I kind of get it. I think your point, too, is that not only is it's one thing to, like, have been, like, a bad, like, not great with the media, but Bill Belichick was sort of actively antagonizing the media when he was a head coach. To turn around, I mean, he belittled people. He made people feel small and stupid. And it seemed like kind of took pleasure out of that in some twisted way. Like it was not the Bob Knight, to that level of abuse, but I think that he went a step further. I do think he like to embarrass people as part of the media. And so for him to turn around and have every job under the sun is a little bit crazy.
Yeah, no, the famous, he just disrespected the entire fourth estate. He did not like media. He thought it was a waste of time. He thought that at best they were a tool to use. And now he is part of that tool shed. And it's been, he was on NFL 100. He was really good with Rich Eisen and Collinsworth. He's good. He was good with McAfee on the draft. Not great. I thought he was pretty good. The question is, like, can he throw fastballs here? And he absolutely will not. And so I'm not going to support him. I think he's going to get a lot of love because a lot of people respect him. I'm not giving any of that love.
Well, probably the same with Brady, right? Who's going to be in the booth.
No. Brady's been cool with the media. I'm fine with Brady.
See, the thing about Belichick, though, the bar's so low for people. It's like you have two things from former athletes and coaches. You either have totally bland, benign, not saying anything, or you got hot takers. And it feels like, you got to try to find the sweet spot in between. And I think Belichick actually will do that. I thought he was good on the draft. You and I disagree about that because I guess I'm not used to anyone ever being critical of a draft prospect on that broadcast.
Who was he critical of?
And he was critical of Drake May, and he was critical of quarterback, his footwork, and maybe he's being a little Machiavellian, criticizing the quarterback that the Patriots took with the 3rd overall pick to try to stick it to the Patriots. But I don't know. I guess any even small criticism or praise, for that matter, that Belichick heaps on somebody, I think is going to carry a little extra weight. But I get what you're saying.
It's going to be social media out to death. Everybody's going to hang on every word he's saying. But I just think the whole thing is kind of icky. And also, too, I do think he's going to be telling his version of stories. Like, this is his time to get out there what he wants, and he will do that. Listen, I'll probably quote tweet him too. I'll probably set out the quotes if he says Jalen Hurts looks like he doesn't want to run. That's interesting. Obviously, the greatest coach of all time says something and means something, but it's like I just feel it's like slimy as all get out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the media, people have different thoughts about it, but you don't have to be like mean or try to embarrass people.
Who's a coach, by the way? There's very rare a coach who wants to get back in. It'll be a hot taker. I don't know.
Rex Ryan, I think
Rex
maybe
Ryan was
still
a
wanted
hot
to get in.
He was hotter as a coach than he is as an analyst. Like, who does he rip?
Who does he what?
He doesn't rip anybody, really. When you think about Rex sounds like EJ's like, does Rex really go after other coaches or other? I mean, I don't know. He's actually slightly not that exciting to me on TV.
I mean, Rex, I remember in the Greg Williams thing said that was the worst defensive call he's ever seen. I feel like Rex has definitely went after people in a major way. Now, as Rich Ryan, the head coach, was a wild man himself, so maybe it doesn't feel like he's very different, but he's definitely taking shots, and he's also tried to get jobs back in the NFL. I will say he is probably the one guy that's done it. I agree. I think most of the time coaches are fairly milquetoast in their analysis, but I wouldn't put Rex in that category. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Again, the Greg Williams one was the one I remember saying that was one of the worst things he's ever seen. He would fire him immediately. But he's had other shots at guys since he worked at ESPN.
It's not. I'm not like sitting there waiting for Rex Ryan to have a hot take.
This is what my prediction for the Belichick sort of how does he use the media to try to get his next job. It's not just going to be him. It's going to be anyone who's associated with Belichick who's in the media, I think is going to be helping too. Anyone who's in the tree.
What do you mean?
Well, if anyone who worked with him, worked under him, worked around him, also pointing out the flaws of certain coaches and GMs like, hey, can you believe Belichick's sitting at home and this guy's calling cover zero, or whatever it's going to be.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, by the way, I said that he'd rip Dable. Dable's famous Belichick guy, too.
Yeah, right. He's part of the tree.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Schiano, Saban, Belichick, triumvirate, and Urban Meyer. Like this group of kind of slightly jerky coaches who are really good at X's and O's. I mean, come on. We know who they are.
Do you want to say what you're doing next week or no?
Yeah, nothing too exciting. My in-laws live part of the year in Palo Alto, California. I'll be at Stanford hanging out with, are there any good players
out
in
Stanford? ACC country, huh?
Yeah, I'll be on Tobacco Road, Stanford. Then we're doing a lovely drive down the coast to Carmel by the Sea.
Gorgeous.
Going to the aquarium.
By the way, this is where a lot of our listeners are.
Yeah, might go to Pebble Beach without my golf clubs. That's I would love to. Yeah, you're gonna be okay. So you have a week of the really interesting week of the Olympics. Actually, a lot of stuff's happening in the Olympics. Is next week gonna be as good as this week?
Somehow we'll make it through.
Trampoline, you're gonna be able to talk about that. But save breaking for me. Can you please do that?
Sure, we'll try to make sure nothing happens. Have fun. Have a great time. Well-deserved. Thank you, Nico Scarlatos. Thank you. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Crystal Presti, Andrew Kaplan. Thank you.
You're in a 5-minute break.